Welcome, everybody, to the press conference for the 2021 PDGA Professional Disc Golf World Championships here in Ogden, Utah. First up, we have Jade Sewell, Tournament Director Extraordinaire. Jade, just your feelings about this week as we're about to get kicked off.
Very busy, very busy. But, yeah, we're excited to finally have it happen. With the COVID delay, we're ready. Yeah, we're ready.
And, yeah, that was the next question is, obviously, it had to be postponed in 2020. The PDGA committed to bringing it right back here for this year. I just want to talk about whether you feel like it was an advantage to have an extra year in some kind of silver lining way, or sort of the joys and hardships of the year delay.
Yeah, absolutely. It gave us more time to refine it. We probably made 10 changes to the course just because the course was ready, and then we just started. We had a year. And it was something people could do and come out and with COVID going on. And, yeah, we were able to make about 10 changes to the course.
Great. Hey, Jade. Danny Voss with PDGA. First, thanks for being here. Appreciate you coming and speaking with us. The courses look great, and the event is running smoothly, and it's all going to kick off tomorrow. I want to give you an opportunity to give a shout-out to one of your volunteers. Is there an MVP that you want to, give a little plug and gas up a little bit?
Okay, yeah, that'd be Rob Bolin and Dave Adamson and Yasha, Tom and Kathy from the Fort. They're the camp hosts there. They're a huge help. And you guys, I'm gonna miss somebody. There's probably about 10 of us that work on the course quite a bit, that do the majority of the work. And then of course the county employees were really good too.
Jade, Terry Miller here with Disc Golf Network. Taking on hosting a World Championships is a monumental effort, including all the people you just mentioned in terms of staff and crew. What in the world would possess someone to take on such a incredible effort?
I love disc golf, and that's why I did it. And I was committed to bringing Worlds here, and we got it. And I want it to be the best it could possibly be, and that's what drives me. I think I've been at the Fort every day for 4 years. I missed 5 days. I'm there every day. I missed my birthday. I remember I stayed home on my birthday. I don't remember the other 4 days, but I remember I stayed home on my birthday.
To follow up Terry's question there, the Utah Open was an event that you started a handful of years ago, and it seems like it was the express purpose of saying, hey, we can run a tour class, a world-class event here in Ogden. So talk a little bit about starting then and the steps you took to grow to this vision this week.
Yeah, I knew I had to, make a move. I knew I couldn't get an A tier right away, so I did it unsanctioned. I invited a handful of players. They came. You were there, and yeah, and I had to do that because I couldn't get A tier status in the very beginning. So that's what I did, and then we did 2 pro tours, and it just blossomed from there. This is a whole different thing, though. This is like really community driven as compared to the Utah Open. I had a little bit of community involvement, but nothing like this. We rallied with several cities around here, including the county, obviously, to make all this happen for Worlds. I needed that much help and work to get that to happen at this level.
And then finally, just like you said, you've had community partnerships. You're working with the city, with the county. What has that relationship been like? And if there's somebody else out there saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, how would you say, hey, approach your local city or organization this way? Yeah,
that's everything. The relationships were huge for me. That's started everything. And to be honest, my business, owning an architectural firm, the cities all knew me already. So when I walk into these cities, they know me. And a lot of times I'm in city meetings and I hear disc golf. I'm not even there for disc golf. And so I will, talk to the people afterwards. And that's how I've developed a lot of relationships with disc golf connections with a whole bunch of cities. I think there's 7 courses to build after Worlds is over. I have 7. So yeah, it's taken off in the area for sure.
Jade, Hayden Henry with the PDGA. Tell us about the Fort. What's the challenge out there? What's going to test these top players, and what hole are you specifically looking at to see the challenge?
Yeah, so we scrutinized the course, every tree. We had months to do it. We feel like we didn't know if it was tough or not, if they're going to come in with some of the scores you see nowadays with tournaments. And yeah, we were pretty pleased with what we see. I still think they'll come in and someone will have a real hot round, but we feel like we made a challenging course. It's fun. It looks good. I would say 16's everybody's liking that one off the hill. 12's my favorite hole because I knew it had to be strategized. You couldn't just throw a drive. If you throw a driver on that hole, you're probably in trouble. And so weird little things like that we did. We have fairways up high and fairways low. We've done some interesting things with fairways, and not everybody likes those, but we wanted to have each hole be totally different and unique, and that's what I think we did.
Nice.
Did there.
Flip side of that, Mulligan's a little different style
Yeah.
of golf, but still a challenge, still some technical aspects out there. So what do you expect from the Mulligan's track?
I expect really good scoring unless it's windy. That's the X factor at Mulligan's. That's her teeth, is the wind. If it's windy, and it's windy there a lot, the groundskeeper explains the wind. There's 2 canyons that you can see at the mountains, and it does a swirly action. So the winds are really unpredictable. It's not just windy. You'll be on a tee pad, and it'll be a tailwind. You'll get in the middle of the fairway, and it's a headwind.
Nice.
Very common there at Mulligan's. That's what makes it hard for these players to judge the wind.
All right, Jade Sewell, TD of the 2021 PDGA Professional Disc Golf World Championships. Thank you, Jade.
Thank you.
Now back with Todd Lyon representing the events team with the PDGA. Todd, we're here in Utah. We're getting ready for a long-anticipated event. I just want to give you an opportunity to highlight some of the work that you and the events team have been doing building up to this week.
Yeah, I mean, last year was tough for everybody, and I think we've all said it a million times. We've all heard everybody else say it, but, you know, it was a heartbreaking decisions last year to have to cancel some of these events, you know, starting at U.S. Women's and then Worlds and practically, you know, through half the year. And being able to get back into the swing of things for 2021 and kicking off the World Championships, it's huge. It's a great feeling. You know, we've been playing disc golf for 3 months now on the elite circuit, and I still feel like every weekend, yeah, disc golf's back. And this weekend is, yeah, disc golf's back. World Championships, here we go. So over the last year, you know, we kind of tried to use it to our advantage. Well, now we get an extra year of planning on this. Jade obviously mentioned that he made several changes out at the fort to either make it play better, give it some more teeth out there, and, you know, the course is looking amazing out there. I absolutely love that course. And, you know, we've just been working with them the whole time and, you know, buttoning down the rules and coordinating all of the moving pieces that go into Worlds. You know, supporting him on multiple ends from our side while he does the dirty work with the chainsaws and the loppers out here on the ground, as well as rounding up all the local support and, his end of sponsorships combined with our end of sponsorships, we think we're going to have a pretty good tournament this week.
What are some of the, if you have a couple highlights of the big unknowns that happen? Obviously, a lot of hours go in, a lot of people behind the scenes to kind of get a tournament to this point.
Well, I can even just go through a little bit of kind of the history of how the events run a little bit. These bids, we put these out for bid in, I think, 2018, awarded them in 2019 at the beginning of the year, and then, of course, the extra year off. But, from our side, we have the events team. That's me, Sean Sinclair, Mike Downs. The media guys, of course, do their work all year long, which Danny and Hayden and Matthew and the contractors we bring on for some of the tournaments. And a lot of, their role is building it up into something special. I think I got into a minor argument on the internet the other day. I'm like, oh, well, if you want to break it down, the Masters is just another golf tournament, too. It's 4 rounds of playing golf. But we all know it's not just another golf tournament, and the Worlds is not just another disc golf tournament. It's a special tournament because of the people who are involved. It's a special tournament because of the emotion that the players bring. It's a special tournament because of the history that the title brings. And just the big team effort to just try to live up to the expectations that even just the word brings with it, World Championship.
Hey Todd, Danny Voss, PDGA.
Oh, hi Danny.
Nice seeing you again.
Saw you plenty this week.
I have a question for you, but I wanted to kind of follow up what you just said there. You've been on the road for a while now, mostly with NT events and majors and things like that. Is there a memorable moment that you've had, and this could be even as you were a spectator or anything like that, but at one of these larger events that really sticks with you, and maybe it was a lesson learned, or it's just a story that you like to tell, or anything like that that really sticks in your mind and your heart?
Well, I mean, a quick funny story was the very first act that I made as a PDGA employee involved driving stake through a water line at the Las Vegas golf course. Almost a geyser of water coming up right in my face after driving a 36-inch stake straight into it. So if that's a lesson learned, that's a lesson learned right there. Pretty much everybody has something happen in their first day that they go out to a tournament. Sometimes I get home and, people are like, oh man, did you see that awesome shot that Paul threw or that Ricky threw? I'm like, quite frankly, no. I had my eye somewhere else. I'm yelling at the spectators to stay back. I'm looking at one of their card mates. I might be off dealing with a rules issue on another card. Last month at DDO, when Ricky hit the putt on 16, and everybody's going nuts and giving high fives. He's running through the tunnel if you pause the video. You can see me right there trying, I recognize this is a cool moment, but it's not my job to give you a high five on the course. You're a cool dude. That was a huge putt. It was awesome, but at least you didn't footfaults. So, good putt.
Very good. So you have, as we just mentioned, you have all these lessons learned and tons of experience on the ground. For those that don't know, you are taking over a new event and TD support position. Officially, you'll be titled Event Support and Training Manager. So what are your goals with this new position, and how is that going to impact, PDGA membership and the TDs when you step into that role?
PDGA is, of course, covering all disc golf events, or all PDGA sanctioned disc golf events. We're pushing 4,500 sanctioned events this year already. We're probably a matter of days away from having the most events in the history of the PDGA, with 6 more months to go after this. So with that comes new players, new TDs, new events. And, to be frank, local TDs are probably the most valuable asset in the sport. If you don't have local TDs running C tiers and B tiers, you don't have players getting into tournament play, and then those players can't turn into pros, and then those pros can't turn into the elite players that we see today. And the tools that the PDGA has built, the tournament manager and the live scoring apps are great tools, but with so many new TDs coming in, we're just flooded with questions and, TDs having either issues or want to do strange formats or just need to know where to even get started. So I'm moving out from under Mike Downs and moving over to Big Dog's team, Andrew Sweeten, who's been the tour manager, which is really kind of the events manager. He oversees the 4,000, 5,000 events a year, but that's obviously too much for one person. So I'm moving in, helping him with that stuff. We also have Mike Sullivan, who has spent the last 3 years on the board of directors. He just stepped down from the board and accepted a position that will be my direct counterpart, doing tutorials, maybe some videos to help TDs work through these issues, hoping to get some traveling, traveling lecture type of series of, we're going to Atlanta, if you're within 2 hours of Atlanta, come on out, we'll have a presentation, you can ask questions, we can walk you through some things, and hopefully just expanding the knowledge base of the TDs on the ground and building that solid base that the entire sport needs.
And final question for you. Of course, COVID isn't gone, but we are welcoming fans back. And This weekend, there were special provisions and considerations, I'm sure. We probably had to even limit the amount of spectator passes that could be bought. What went into the decision as to how many spectator passes could be sold, and what are some of the provisions that you guys are putting in place for it?
Yeah, so with the PDGA for the last year has relied heavily on local ordinances. Like if your state thinks it's cool to have groups of players together, then that's fine. We'll allow it. If your state mandates that you can't have more than 15 people together, then we'll say you probably should run this as a tea time event. But Utah's a bit wide open, so that's fortunate from a tournament perspective. We're allowed to have fans here. The city is allowing them, the county's allowing them, the state's allowing them. A lot of trust went into Jade and the team on the ground. They've been running Pro Tour events for a few years. They know how to handle spectators. They've seen the courses, how they handle spectators. And they sold, I think it's 1,200, maybe 1,400. I can't quite remember which. 1,200 spectator passes, which, it's going to be awesome. Being able to have a full crowd again. Is this one of the first ones of the year? DDO had a pretty solid crowd, but they were still limited. Here, that 1,200 is about the max the fort can handle. So, the team on the ground has plans set up of, there's pods where you can sit up above hole 3 and just sit there and watch players come through all day. You can sit down on the grandstands next to 18's basket and watch players come through there. You can mill about in the valley underneath hole 16, so you can see 16, 17, and 18 all at the same time. Or you can get in the roaming pod and follow along behind the lead card, which, there's certainly spots out there where, there's not going to be a good view of this tee pad or that tee pad, but, you just have to wait a hole and we'll get to a better one and hopefully give the fans a good experience out there. And with good fans comes more excitement for the players, too.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd.
Thanks, guys.
Now back here with Jeff Spring, CEO and Tour Director of the Disc Golf Pro Tour. Jeff, obviously this is a PDGA major this week. It's the first time it's on Disc Golf Network, so I know a lot of talks and negotiations went into with the PDGA and the Disc Golf Pro Tour to get here. I just want to give you a chance to talk about that partnership and what we get to bring to the table together.
Yeah, it's our best and most important partnership, working with the PDGA, especially with the DGN, being able to broadcast this event live. First time we're doing the Pro Worlds. It's pretty exciting. Of course, we've got the vets on Team DGN and Smashbox and Terry Miller, JVD, bringing a lot of experience, and obviously that goes to be said for every single event that we're doing with the DGN. So thankful for the partnerships. I know the entire DGN team is super excited, including doing this press conference. Just want to thank all of our crew members in the PDGA for making this happen. I mean, I think we have 20 media personnel for the DGN on site and in the booth in Milwaukee. So it's by far the biggest show we've ever done. It's super important to us, and we've scaled up to try to deliver the best yet.
Hey, Jeff, Danny, PDGA.
Hey.
So you were the TD for the 2018 Pro Worlds.
Yeah.
And as you just heard Todd talking about, that TD support and all that sort of stuff, you have a lot of perspective that you can share with those prospective TDs. Whether it's a C tier or whether it's a major, what advice do you have for PDGA TDs to ensure that they run a good event for the participants and make an impact in their community?
For a large event like this, what is key is long-term planning. The PDGA gives TDs great resources for that. I know that when we were selected, it was an 18-month process from start to finish that's mapped out by the organization. So I think really using the resources that the PDGA gives TDs and getting ahead of everything. I mean, it takes a lot of details and planning to make things look very simple and smooth. And so I think a lot of disc golfers, a lot of TDs, think, oh, this looks easy, or it should be easy, or it's simple. But the coordination, communication to get so many different people, so many moving parts on the same page does take a lot of planning and a lot of time. So I just would say, work with the PDGA, and find those resources out early, scale up step by step, and you'll get there.
And just real quickly, Todd's new position notwithstanding, what is something that the PDGA, a tool or personnel that TD could leverage to make those impacts that you just described?
Yeah, I think that Todd laid it out pretty well. The big thing is having a strong presence in your local area, because it does take the expertise of the organizations. For us, we've been building that with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, using the experience of the PDGA and trying to create programs that really plug in. But without a really excited community and a bunch of locals on the ground that love the sport, that have experience running local events, it's hard for us or the PDGA to plug in. We want basically 100, 150 folks that really care about the disc golf scene in the community and come out as volunteers and really play a role in activating on site and kind of fulfilling the entire picture when the PDGA or DGPT comes in. And obviously we're all here now to make this one as awesome as we can.
Jeff, Terry Miller here. Throughout the years, we've seen a number of different formats for coverage at the World Championships, at Disc Golf Pro Tour events, also national tours. This week, we're going to see a live feed that's dedicated to the women in the morning, and then a separate live feed to the men in the afternoon. Talk about some of the challenges or what it takes to coordinate such an effort.
Yeah, it's definitely a huge undertaking, and it takes a lot of people. We love doing individual shows. I think that on the bigger events, we find ourselves, gravitating towards that because of the importance of them and doing a full show. But it does take a lot of resources. I think we have over 10 camera ops to fulfill 6 live camera feeds on both. It's going to be really hot, and I think that we're going to switch people out as much as possible. It takes a lot of time in the control room. People are going to be grinding for super long days. Probably, I don't know how much sleep our control room team will get, but there's a lot of prep that goes into it, from graphics and pre-production to inserts into the live, and all of that takes a long time each day, grinding, getting the insight from the players, the highlights from the day. So yeah, it's quite the undertaking, but we're really thrilled to have two different shows. Overall, we're going to be doing 10 live shows in 5 days, which is a lot.
One more question, this one in from the hotline. This comes from Ulti-World Disc Golf. They're asking, what does the Disc Golf Pro Tour learn from being an event like the World Championships?
Well, I personally have learned a lot through the years about player expectations, about how big this event is in terms of moving the needle forward for the sport. I think for us, we're learning a lot about working together to try to elevate the game to the next level each time we work together, whether it's a national tour event or a major. And I'm kind of super excited for the next few years now that we keep learning and growing with the media team. Danny, Todd, Hayden, Matt, I feel like we're getting better and better at working together, and that's only going to produce bigger and better results.
All right, Jeff Spring, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Now back with 5-time and defending world champion Paul McBeth here in Ogden. Paul, 5 victories and 3 second-place finishes in the last 8 starts at the World Championships. First of all, I want to speak to your motivation to get number 6 to not finish any worse than second, like you haven't done in the last decade.
Yeah, I want number 6. Last year we didn't have a World Championship, and I think it's kind of just added motivation to this one. Kind of just missed out on something, I feel like. But I've said it in past interviews. I think that, the sport of disc golf really won the World Championship last year with the growth. So really motivated for this one and looking forward to it. Kind of feels like a little bit of throwback courses. We're going back a couple of years. So I won my first one in 2012, and it just kind of has that feeling. I feel like I'm ready to win that first one again.
Yeah, follow that up. Kind of compare these courses that we're about to play this week with some of the other ones that you've won titles on. Big adjustments to your game, and do they fit like a glove?
Yeah, if I was to compare the courses, I feel like it's almost going back to like Crown Point days. Shorter wooded style course. Mulligan's is probably the shortest golf course I've ever played. So it's got a lot of bunkers, greens, water hazards, but not a distance type World Championship. So I think and then we're at elevation, so it's completely different than anything I've played for a World Championship. But no, I'm feeling good for it.
Hey Paul, Danny Voss, PDGA. I kind of want to go back to Jamie's first question and kind of lead off of that a little bit. Obviously 5 times is a sterling achievement. Does one of your previous titles stick out as particularly special to you personally? And with that context in mind, what would 6 mean?
The one that sticks out is 2019 for sure. The switch over to Discraft, just having to go out and prove myself, and I feel like that's the same situation I'm in right now. I'm not picked by a lot of people. I feel like I'm a little bit of an underdog this year, so I love the feeling. So it's it feels like 2019 again.
Okay, Paul McBeth, the underdog. You heard it here.
Paul, I'll follow that one up with, is there anything that specifically motivates you? You talk a lot about how hard you work and you're putting, you're doing extra work when people are sleeping, but is there anything specific that's really motivating you that you can really pinpoint?
No, I just feel like I have a lot to prove this year. I'm just not knocking down the wins like I have previously. I'm getting close, being consistent, but there's just been that one little thing missing, and I think the biggest thing is putting. Portland Open, I really feel like I switched it up a level, and just feeling really good there, and that just kind of opens up the confidence going into every style of course. I don't feel like I need to put the disc 20 feet from the basket anymore. I feel like I can put it inside 60, 70 and feel like I'm going to knock down a birdie. So it's just a relief, and I want to just carry that into this week.
Well, you speak of your putting or putting woes, and for what it's worth, most people would love to have the putting problems that you say you're having. What specific has been the problem on the putting green? I mean, you've talked about it openly all year. What have you done?
Just finding the comfort level, making sure my body's in the right place. I think at Portland you could see I was really just like wiggling the shoulder and trying to get into place, and just kind of doing that. I'm just kind of making sure everything's lined up and correct, because I feel like I was just getting too comfortable, just almost over practicing to where I'm just getting lazy more so than anything. So just really focusing and making sure I have quality practice, not just a lot of practice.
This one comes in from Ulti-World Disc Golf, asking how have you felt during the practice rounds for this event?
Good. I mean, the courses are really short, so getting like 2 or 3 rounds in on these courses and really learning and just really getting used to the elevation. Disc fly different, obviously, but not just the disc flying different, but the putting is extremely different. So just adjusting to that and learning the fort, because this is my first time here. Mulligan's pretty straightforward. There's not really any trees to avoid. It's just the landing zone. So just learning the fort. Probably got 15 or so rounds in there in the week I've been here. So that's about it.
And a follow-up also from Multi-World. You're talking about the danger or the change in putting. There's a lot of water danger, especially at Mulligan's. Does that make you consider more conservative play, especially in the beginning rounds of a 5-round event?
Here, not so much. Again, the elevation, it seems like putts drop really fast, so they're not carrying too far past the basket. Unless you get a roll away, I don't see too many 3 putts coming because someone launched it 30 feet past the basket. Like if they're carrying it 30 feet past the basket, they were going to carry it 60 at sea level. So the putting, I don't think there's going to be a lot of laying up in the sense of worrying because the water's there.
And then lastly, again with a 5-round event, with all the kind of conditions and challenges you're talking about, I'm wondering if you do expect it to be a tight battle. Do we lean towards the parity of the season, or do you think somebody, maybe you, is going to break it open?
To be honest, I don't have any expectations out here. I've never played the fort. I don't know what it scores like, but not really being too serious on practice rounds and keeping score, just more so trying to learn the course. I feel like every hole there is birdieable. I don't have any expectations. I don't have any scores set in mind. I know Mulligan's, you got to shoot pretty much double digits if you want to stay up there, but the fort's a wild card, so no number in mind. But I do see if someone has 5 great rounds, they're going to run away.
All right, Paul, thanks so much.
Yep.
And back here with 5-time world champion Paige Pierce, also defending champion. Just want to talk a little bit about that. It's kind of an interesting juxtaposition. Not only do you have a chance to continue that every odd year trend that you've set in your career of winning a world title, but also defend your world title at the same time. What about that opportunity stands out to you most right now?
Yeah, I don't really think too much about the odd year thing. That's kind of more something where people talk about it and I just kind of smile. But the, defending champion is a huge deal to me. It's something that I've never done. I am a 5-time world champion, but I've never been able to defend my title. So this year, I think that's the thing that's the most inspiring or motivating to me is being able to go back to back.
It's been a whirlwind season, a lot of events, back-to-back weekends, moving from city to city. How has it felt to just kind of park here for a couple weeks, get some practice in on some courses, and really dial it in?
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of a blessing in disguise. The Beaver State Fling is one of my favorite events of all time. It's kind of where I broke into the pro scene, actually. But when it got canceled and Jade texted me, actually, that the Utah Open was that same weekend, I signed up immediately. It felt like a no-brainer to get here early, get some practice rounds in, not have to do the drive from Oregon right before the event. And, at this point I've played over 15 rounds at each course and it kind of starting to feel like home. So I definitely made the right decision and I'm ready to get to battle.
Hey Paige, Danny Voss, PDGA. First, I'd like to congratulate you on your victories in the putting and long drive contests yesterday. Those were pretty cool. Which of those disciplines do you see yourself leaning on more this coming week?
I think distance is going to come into play at Mulligan's. There's a couple holes that are like 370 plus that I can easily get the birdie on, and a lot of the competition in my field is going to have to really push everything they have and then also hit maybe a circle 2 putt. So I feel good about certain holes out at Mulligan's for that, but I would say the majority of it would be putting. Yeah, I was very excited about that one. So thank you. The day before yesterday, we played mixed doubles, and I kind of let my partner down on the putting green, and I was feeling a little bit, timid, I guess you could say, and I wasn't really feeling the confidence on the green. So then to turn it around the following day and shoot a score that would have got me 3rd place in the Open division even, it definitely quieted all of those thoughts and will head me into tomorrow with a good feeling on the putting green. And I think that is going to be the key over at the fort with all the greens that have trees by them.
Sure, yeah. You and Madison Walker both had scores that would have put you 3rd overall in the putting and then the skill shot respectively. That's a very impressive feat for sure. And 501 feet is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I asked Paul a similar question. 5 times puts you in elite status. I mean, right there with Juliana and Elaine, of course. Does one of your previous titles in particular stand out to you as something personally important to you? And then in a word, what does number 6 mean if that came up?
Oh, man. Each of them means something so differently to me. Number 1 was just showing me that I'm capable. Number 2 was more of like, hey, that wasn't a fluke, that wasn't luck. You are capable. And then number 3 is a tough one for me because it's one that I put an asterisk by. I don't really count that as a world title for me. So if I win this year, it will be number 6, but in my mind, it will be tying Juliana and Elaine. I know in 2015 that was Sarah Hokom's world title, and so this would mean a lot to me. And obviously, I would be a 6-time world champion, and that would be the most winning FPO player of all time. So that would be very exciting. It's hard for me to really put into words exactly how that moment would feel. I don't really think that I will have words until that moment does happen.
Thank you. Paige, Terry Miller here. You've been very open this year about coming to Utah and practicing ahead of time. You were taking weekends off from other tournaments to come up here. Did you provide feedback to Jade and the staff, and what are some of the changes that you experienced from coming here earlier in the year to the final product that you're going to start on tomorrow?
Honestly, Jade and Rob and the whole team, I was really impressed. I came out here for the first time right before the DD Open last year, And there was snow on the mountains. I remember it was so beautiful. And the course, Jade was already out there, and he was like, hey, you're going to play this tee pad, you're going to play that tee pad. So I kind of took a little bit of notes. But then coming back right after the Las Vegas Challenge in early March this year, honestly, the courses look pretty much identical. They had most of the work done. It's now just kind of manicuring, trimming the fairways so that it kind of looks like ball golf. The short grass you see is where you want to land. The long grass isn't necessarily OB, but it's not really considered fairway. The biggest change, I would say, was the seasons. When I came here after Vegas, there was no green on the trees, so a lot of my gaps were a lot bigger. So now coming here in the summer, everything's green. A lot of the gaps are smaller, so I had to adjust a couple lines and found some new lines as well. But I would say, to simply answer your question, the course looked very, very similar, but the crew was pretty receptive. I told them, a couple OB lines should be a little bit more clear, stuff like that. But for the most part, they have it down.
All right, and my final question is, a few weeks ago we saw some announcements about the documentary that you're ultimately having put together about you, about women's disc golf, and the other initiatives that you're trying to accomplish there. Does that put any additional pressure on yourself? Because that's the best way to finish a documentary is, of course, with you hoisting a world championship trophy. But does that put any extra pressure on yourself?
Yeah, in the beginning of filming the documentary, that was kind of something that I thought would be the best ending of any movie, right? Especially, when it would be me holding it. But I've kind of worked through those emotions now, and actually my director and producer Wilson told me, we are in control of the storyline. It doesn't have to be you holding a trophy. We are in control of the storyline. There's no pressure on an ending. We're going to have hundreds of hours of footage, so let's put it together as it goes. And that was kind of a little bit of sigh of relief, because I was like, I have to win every tournament. But it's not really, the story is not really about me. It is, I'm the vehicle that's driving the viewer through disc golf. But we're going to dive into the history of disc golf now, and then we interviewed a bunch of players of where do you think disc golf is headed. So we want to show the world and introduce the world to this beautiful community and sport that we love, and that is the main initiative. Yes, it would be an incredible ending, but that is not a pressure that I'm working through anymore. I was earlier in the season.
One more question here from Ultiworld Disc Golf. It says, Paige, you spent a lot of time preparing for this year's World. It seems like you have more motivation than usual. What's driving that?
Oh, man. Honestly, I think it's my competitive nature. At the bottom of everything, I have lots of things, but the very bottom line is I am a competitor. I was made to be an athlete, and with all the new generation coming in, all the talk about all these new players, I'm here to remind everyone that I'm the one to beat. I'm the best women's player to have ever played this game, and I'm not going anywhere. I'm getting better.
All right. Paige Pierce, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Now we have another world champion, Katrina Allen, here joining us at the press conference. It's been a long time coming to get to this World Championships. I just want to know what's your excitement level, what's your motivation level, how you feeling?
I feel good. I've been here a couple days before the Utah Open, so I've had an opportunity to play mini rounds on both courses. I feel ready. I've also been training since December, working on all the parts of my game I think I needed help with, and then trying to perfect, my strengths. So, yeah, feel good.
I know discipline is something that you strive to have every single day in your golf game. It seems like that's an advantage when you get to come out and have some time to play a warm-up tournament, to practice. What has your disciplined routine been like leading up to the start of competition?
One of the things I've noticed is, like a fault I have is running up correctly on certain tee pads, or just being more aware of where the tee pad's facing, running up to the tee pad as opposed to the shot. So on both courses, and I wanted to be so disciplined that when I stepped up to a tee shot, not only did I know the disc I wanted to throw in each wind, but I wanted to know right on the tee pad where I wanted to run up, so that I was working on that. But then that's also just that one thing I'll have to focus on each tee pad, and I think that'll actually help with all the other thoughts that want to come in. It's just one thing to focus on. So, yeah. And then, of course, I've been going in the gym and sticking to my diet, and we've been jumping in the cold water for, therapy, and, yeah, feeling awesome.
Hi, Katrina.
Hi.
Danny Voss, PDGA. So going back to Utah Open, had a great showing there. Ratings look great. Obviously, there's lessons learned. What's a positive lesson that you're going to take from that tournament and apply it to this week? And then where's something that you see room for improvement?
Yeah, so actually we took our time getting here from Portland, knowing that I would have the tournament to look at the courses. I also didn't want to be over-practiced, because I am guilty of doing that for the World Championships, playing 2 rounds a day, wanting to perfect every shot. So I actually took Utah Open as a way to look at the courses. How are they scoring? What do they look like? And, yeah, I was able to look back. There were some holes that I was frustrated with because of the design. And so I'm learning from that. Okay, well, maybe you don't like this hole, but if you look at from the basket to the tee box, where's the biggest gap? Where can you get a putt? And kind of put aside my feeling of the hole. So that's what I actually worked on the most this last week, was at the fort, figuring out those tough holes that seem difficult because I possibly think they're unfair, and finding out the biggest gap or the biggest line, or how can I just get a par on this hole instead of blowing up because I'm upset,
Sure, yeah, perspective. Yeah. That's great. 2014, right?
Yeah.
What are you looking, like, when you think about that year, and player of the year and the title and everything like that, when you reflect on a period of time like that, what goes through your mind? What's in your heart when you're thinking about that, and how do you apply that to your career, since then?
So 2013 off season was the first season that I was like, I played sports my whole life, and I worked out when I could, but I decided to be more disciplined with workouts. So that off season, I really worked on fitness. I felt that when I got into the sport, it was a big party scene, lots of drinking, and that seemed to be, like you played a practice round, and then it was like, okay, how much fun can we have? Which I get, but I decided to, not drink. Actually, I didn't drink the entire year, so just kind of making some sacrifices. I changed my diet that year, and then it was, like I talked about in a previous interview this week, it was before social media and being on film every week. And so I think there was a lot less to think about. I was just like, okay, I'm just going to come out here and do my best, and if I don't have 400 messages or, whatever. So with all that, this week I would like to try to get my mind back to 2014. I guess I've grown and learned a lot, and I think I'm a way stronger player in my game and my mental game. But I think when I think back to them And even I remember in the final 9 there was this hole where I like putted and rolled away, and I went to the next tee box and it was like it never even happened. I still to this day can remember being on the next tee box and feeling like I made the first putt. And so also just trying to have that short memory this weekend. Yeah. Yep.
Well, and digging into your memory a little bit and some of your experiences, Jade Sewell has been very player friendly. He has been accommodating for so many of our players, working through the Utah Open, of course, then being on the Pro Tour. Have you provided any feedback? Has there been any insight that you've given him as they've developed the course or added the new course at the Fort? Have you had any input on anything?
No, the only thing I asked was hole 3, I was slipping, and I actually went and got new shoes just for, because you guys know me, I don't really have an opinion about courses or my complaints about, online or anything like that. I think it was 2011 I decided, or 12. I don't care if it's wooded, open, long, short. I'm going to have all the shots, so I don't care. And like I said about the Fort, there were some holes I was having trouble with, and instead of complaining, I was like, how am I going to attack them better? Anyways, and actually Jade said, well, and they went over and looked and realized, oh, it's really shiny. It is actually needs some work. And I was like, yeah, I would really super appreciate it. And he was like, well, didn't you see we did that other thing? And I was like, Jade, I don't complain. I don't know what you're talking about. Just play the course for what it is. But I do know Jade is accommodating, and I appreciate that. But I would also like to see everyone be a little tougher and just deal with what we have to deal with.
All right. Well, then I have just one follow-up question about the Fort, because it is the new course of the 2.
Yeah.
Tell us your favorite hole out there.
My favorite hole. Gosh, I'm the worst at this. My favorite hole out there. I think I enjoy the par 5. And it's just because we're not really unleashing for the first 8 holes. And then you finally just get to throw a drive, or at least that's the first time I get to throw a driver off the tee. So I think I get excited to kind of, and I love a good hole that it's a beautiful fairway. There's nothing in the middle. But if you don't execute the shot, there's that Mando. So you're short of the Mando. You're going to have to probably play for par at best. But if you execute that shot and get around the corner, birdie is just right there. So I think that's my favorite. I think it's the fairest. And, yeah, like I said, I love a wooded shot with a driver. I feel like is really fun.
One more question. This one comes from Ulti World Disc Golf.
Okay.
They're asking, where do you see your advantages being at these courses relative to the rest of the players in the field?
I think with the balance of 2 courses, like I said, years and years ago, I decided I don't care if it's windy, open, long, short. I don't care what the course is. I've developed all the shots. So I think just having all the shots is going to help me be really consistent and stay in the hunt throughout the week. I have the long hyzer, but I also have the hyzer flip putter, so I'm going to have all the shots. And I also love variety, so I think that's going to be fun. It's not monotonous, just, all straight shots or all just hyzers. So it'll be fun.
Awesome. Katrina Allen, thanks so much.
Okay. Good. Okay. I'd say hi.
All right, back here with Eagle McMahon at the press conference for the World Championships. And Eagle, you already said you're ready. Just tell us a little more. What's your mental state? What's going through your mind right now?
Yeah, I got here Monday last week, so full week of practice. I've gotten acclimated to the elevation, the heat, the courses. So at this point, I put the work in, and we just got to see what happens. And I want 3:30 to come tomorrow, start throwing discs.
What are some of the biggest adjustments you've had to make to your game, coming from the rest of the West Coast swing, coming up to elevation, dealing with these particular courses, all that?
Yeah, I actually played the GoPro Mountain Games last weekend, and that was at 8,500 feet. So it was a lot higher than this. So it was almost like a really good trick to my brain to go so high in altitude and then come down, because it felt like everything felt more understable. But I'm definitely used to how my discs fly at sea level. But just putting in reps, learning that putting, you might throw a few chain links up a little bit harder, and then bring your discs closer to flat, because I throw almost everything on hyzer anyway. So just adjusting the angles. Basically, just a little bit of fine tuning here and there. But now I think I got it figured out for the most part. And coming from Boulder, Colorado, growing up there, that's higher than here. So this is right up my alley.
Hi, Eagle. Danny Voss, PDGA. You just hit on it, and this is where my question goes, is with that GoPro Mountain Games. That was your last event, sanctioned or not. And I saw this quote here. It was from you. It was actually a deal maker for me that this was not a PDGA sanctioned event, because I just wanted to come up here, play in the mountains, have some fun, and just tone it down for a little while. So how has that really impacted your outlook coming into going from an unsanctioned event to the biggest tournament of the year?
Yeah, it was definitely just a good event to blow off some steam coming off of Portland. I wasn't actually going to play that event, but I'm good friends with the TED, and Vail, Colorado is somewhat on the way if you choose a different route from Colorado. So I thought, make a quick little pit stop there, enjoy some Colorado mountain life, play some disc golf, and just basically bring back some memories of what it used to be like playing as a kid up in the mountains. So it was definitely a bit of a homecoming, and very relaxing to play at GoPro.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. It kind of seemed like a get back to your roots sort of an event, and I'm sure that will kind of give you that reset that'll have a positive impact this week. For players that are kind of at that stage now where they're still on that grassroots sort of local weeklies and that sort of thing, what kind of advice would you have for those players? They're not coming to Worlds, but they're out there grinding and having fun with it. How would you like to communicate to them, keep disc golf fun for yourself as you grow into this sport?
Yeah, just pick an outlook that you like for disc golf, whether it be fun or just something you do on the weekend. Just try to bring some sort of, mindfulness to it, to be like, I'm doing this to relax, or I'm doing this to get better at my craft. So, just kind of make what you want out of it, but, do it mindfully.
Awesome. I'll ask one more real quick. Is there any scoop you can give us on any manufacturing and discs and anything like that?
Yeah, go over to Discmania. The beans have been spilled. We're going to be our own manufacturer now, which is huge for us. There's no limitations. So basically, the world is our oyster.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be throwing any of the new holds because I can't. But as soon as they get approved, it's go time.
Do you have one picked out yet for a signature disc?
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us?
Yeah, the DD3 is going to be the Cloudbreaker 3.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to that.
That's great. Thank you.
All right, Eagle, on that note, this one comes from Ulti World Disc Golf. How long have you known about Discmania's plan to become a manufacturer, and was it a factor in your decision to re-sign with them this past offseason?
Absolutely. I didn't know until just before I put the pen to the paper signing the contract. I was in talks with other companies, and they were offering me some pretty big deals. And after hearing UC complete his pitch. It turned out that Discmania ended up being the best offer and the offer with the most promise. So, some people, doubted me. They said that I made the wrong decision, but I knew in the back of my head, as soon as this day come, once you heard the announcement, that this is the right choice. I'm proud to represent the Shield, represent Discmania, and there's no better fit, especially since Discmania is from Colorado. I know so many people, and it's just I could have made a better decision.
And kind of parlaying that back onto the course here, obviously a lot goes into preparing for a big event like this, a lot more than people on the internet or, out in the media may see. You've talked about intensity. You said right before we came on that you're ready. You can't wait for 3:30 tomorrow. Just kind of give us a glimpse into your mind and all the things that we haven't been seeing behind the scenes that's going to lead up to what you're going to show us tomorrow.
Yeah, I think if you go back to earlier, the first press conference of the year I said that Worlds is a process. You don't win Worlds just the week leading up to it. You win it by the whole year and how your preparation goes. So I've been doing my best to stick to my schedule, stick to my routine, put the right amount of intensity in the gym, right amount into my mindset. So, this is the ultimate test to see if I did it right. And, whether it goes my way or not, that's a learning experience for next year, win or lose.
And, as you're envisioning this weekend, obviously it's 5 rounds. It's all the challenges that we've been talking about. Have you envisioned the kind of scenario that you want to manifest? Is it a tight race going down the stretch like at Portland? Is it a runaway victory like some of yours in the past? Or how do you want this to play out come Saturday?
The latter would definitely be nice. But, we'll see. I try not to dwell on the future too much. I have a goal in mind, and I'm working towards it as we speak, but what it comes down to is going out there and throwing one shot at a time, because without playing one shot at a time, you can't complete a round. So just take each moment and maximize your focus and hope for the best.
And last question, obviously disc golf documentary, Eagles Trail, just dropped over on the Jomez Pro channel. Just wanted to give you a chance to talk about making that. What was it like to see yourself in a documentary, especially that comes out right before in a big event like this? What was your experience?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. There's so much going on right now between the announcement, the trail coming out, and the World Championships. But it was a really cool experience. We filmed it back in January. Shout out to Brian Geis, who works for Jomez, Southpaw Disc Golf. He's kind of the visionary behind the idea. He picked up that my dad and I do this trail every year that's around the perimeter of my hometown in Boulder, Colorado. And he thought of that as like a great narrative to kind of showcase my relationship with my dad. So, he's a part of my team. He's here with me. And, hopefully there's one documentary made, and, next one's in the making, theoretically. So.
All right, the busiest man in disc golf this week, Eagle McMahon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Welcome back to the 2021 PDGA Pro Worlds press conference here with Brody Smith, playing in your first World Championships as a professional disc golfer. It's kind of been a whirlwind career for you from the start to this point. Just to kind of reflect upon where you've come from, where you are now, and where you are as you start this tournament.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here for my first Worlds. This is probably the biggest field, deepest field tournament I've played in. At the skill level that I'm at. Obviously, last year I played in a lot of tournaments, but didn't really know what I was doing. So it's fun to be here and get to play on these courses and see how it all shapes up this week.
What has been your process to kind of get to, as you said, you didn't know what you're doing, to kind of get to a professional game and a touring schedule and routine? What's that been like?
I think I'm definitely more interested in long-term results versus short-term results. I've done a lot of tweaks and changes to my form that has definitely hurt me in tournament results this year, but I'm looking more towards trying to do something that's going to be helpful next year. So I'm already throwing the disc farther now than, or further, I think. Is it further or farther? Everyone keeps correcting me. Does anyone know?
Farther.
Farther?
Farther's distant.
Farther now than I've ever before, and I'm excited for the off season as well to kind of ramp up my training too, to see, because right now distance is everything. If you can throw far, you have a good chance of winning. So I'm just trying to focus on stuff that I know down the road is going to help me the most, and even though it might be frustrating at times by not having the consistency that I'd want in these tournaments now, I know it's going to pay dividends down the road.
Hey Brody, Danny Voss, PDGA. I want to start with something a little off topic from disc golf.
Okay.
I'm just looking at your YouTube channel here,
Oh, boy.
sorting by most popular.
Oh boy.
Epic Trick Shot Battles, Season 1, Episode 6, 69 million views.
Yeah.
So you obviously have a huge presence, online and all that sort of stuff. When you come onto the disc golf course, how are you taking your presence on that digital stage, and what are your goals for leveraging that to grow disc golf?
Sure. I tell everyone I'm a terrible actor. I've tried.
You call that?
Maybe I'm not a terrible actor. This is sick. See, this is an honest reaction to this. Do you want me? Should we just wait a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, just hold tight.
Dude, I'm getting jacked up. I don't even know what that was for. Was that for your entrance? Do you get a walk-up song?
That was the Calvin intro.
God. All right. I guess that's what you get.
Okay. So let's get back to that. Oh, never mind.
Calvin's not up yet. It's still me. Yeah. Trying to push me off real quick.
Are we good?
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So going back to that, you have an opportunity to leverage that presence to grow disc golf. What goals do you have there?
Yeah. So what I was saying is, like, I'm a terrible actor. I think tried or auditioned for like 3 or 4 movie roles where like someone actually has reached out to me and says, "Hey, we think you would be good for this role." Never have gotten a call back. My acting is terrible. So everything that you see online is pretty much exactly how I am. I would say YouTube and stuff like that, it's probably all like me at my hypest, you would say, but it's still who I am. I'm terrible at acting. So I try to just show people what I'm passionate about and what I love to do, and hopefully they can see how much enjoyment I'm having in disc golf and to give it a chance. Whether they're coming from Ultimate and they've had a couple injuries like I have, and now playing Ultimate's difficult, and maybe disc golf is a good low transition, or maybe golf, it's too expensive. Maybe disc golf is a good low transition to come over. So I'm always just trying to show people exactly how I feel. Obviously some people don't like that I say exactly off the cuff how I feel, but it's always easier for me to do it that way than for me to kind of like step on eggshells and try to be like, I want to post this, but I don't know how people are going to respond. I'm just going to send it and just see what happens.
Okay. So bridging the gap there from that kind of phase of your life and the ultimate side to today with disc golf, maybe it's a trend that's heading that way. We have we have Ella, kind of big names coming into disc golf, and there's an opportunity for a lot of growth there. Is there anything that you'd like to say to those ultimate players that are thinking about picking up disc golf, and how do you do it? Where do you get started and all that sort of stuff?
I would say it's kind of tough right now because most of the people, I would say 99% of the people playing Ultimate Frisbee are doing it because they love to play it. I've as far as like the professional side of things, I have lost way more money playing Ultimate Frisbee than I have won money. A lot of tournaments, when you win, you just get a trophy, even though it costs you maybe $1,000 with travel fees, tournament fees, jerseys. You're doing it because you love the sport. And so I would say it's difficult to try to get people that really love Ultimate Frisbee to try something else. But if you're kind of on the fence like I was, where my injury was a serious question of like, if I go back and try Ultimate again and I mess up my knee one more time, I might not be able to walk 20 years from now, and Ultimate is very grueling on the body. And so I think that is probably what you're going to see more, is the transition from 20-year-olds that are now maybe in their 30s being like, Ultimate's a little bit too rough on my body, I still want to throw the disc and still have fun, I'm going to go over to disc golf. And then I would just say on the other side of things is you can't really have a profession playing Ultimate Frisbee, right? You can't. Everyone that's playing Ultimate Frisbee has another job that supports that. So it's more of almost like a hobby versus actually a profession, where disc golf is getting closer and closer to where if you can make it on tour, you can make this your actual profession, your actual job. And I think that can be very enticing to a lot of people.
Brodie, Terry Miller here with Disc Golf Network. It's been very clear how hard you've been working, how you've put your heart and soul into becoming a professional disc golfer, and you've had some great mentors and some people along the way, namely Paul McBeth. I know you've leaned on a lot, along with some other players. As good as you've gotten, where's your ceiling?
I've played with all the best. I've had the opportunity of putting myself in a position this year playing alongside Ricky. Just a couple, I think I was actually either tied or one stroke back going into round 2 at Goat Hill. And I've seen what it takes to get to the top. And I think right now we haven't even seen the ceiling of where disc golf will go down the road. Because I think what you're going to start seeing is deeper and deeper fields, to where when the top guys have an off week, someone else kind of steps in. And also I think when course design starts getting to the point of where not every hole is either a birdie or a par, but actually a birdie, par, bogey, or double bogey, I think you'll start really seeing sometimes guys some of the top guys not even make a cut because courses are so demanding. I mean, that's what you're seeing right now at the U.S. Open. You saw some of the top players in the world over there not make the cut. Bryson DeChambeau had the lead going into the back 9, and then he shot 8 over or something on the back. I don't even think he finished in the top 10. So when you start having those score separating holes more than just maybe 1 or 2 on a course, I think you'll start seeing it. And I think disc golf right now is just at that beginning of where you're really starting to see younger players really putting in the time and getting a skill set of where they can throw both backhand, forehand, and get the distance to where, man, it's going to be exciting. But to answer your question, I don't think I'm close to my ceiling yet. I don't think so. I'm throwing the disc. I still think I could probably get 50 or 60 more feet out of my distance right now. I think my circle 2 putting right now is really bad. That's one area that I'm going to be working on a lot this season and the off season, is trying to get better inside of 40 feet, because right now to compete at the top, you got to be making probably 30 to 40% of putts inside of 40 feet. And I'm making, 20, 15, 10. So that's just not good enough. But the one side, I think what you might see this week is at the fort. The fort is going to require scrambling. It's going to require you throwing all sorts of different angles, and then the creativity side of things. And I think that's having the trick shot background. I think that's really, to me, I've heard tons of pros be like, there's no line. There's no line to the basket. And that's where I think the trick shots are going to help, because there is a line. You just have to have the right shot and and be able to execute it. And that's where I'm excited to kind of show off this week.
Well, and then I'll follow that up with my final question, which is, when you're coming to your first ever World Championships and lives are changed by the end of this week, what is your realistic expectation at the end of this week?
Yeah, this year I had a lot of goals coming into the year, but all my goals were pretty much like season goals, like finish in the top 20, qualify for USDGC, finish in the top 10. Nothing was like tournament specific. So I don't have anything tournament specific for this one. But at this point in my career, every tournament I'm entering, I'm trying to win. And I know if I put together, that's where it's a little bit tricky, because some of these guys at the top, they can have an off round and still probably win this tournament, where I know I have to pretty much play pretty flawlessly all 5 rounds to have a chance. But I have a chance, and that's the exciting thing, is you never know what can happen. So yeah, going into it, the goal is to finish as high as possible. But ultimately, I think something that I've struggled a little bit this year at times is getting a little bit too hung up on the results this year. And when I start playing poorly or start throwing a bad shot, I lose a little bit of the fun. And I think Portland was the best tournament for me, to where I had 2 really bad rounds, and I didn't let that affect my 3rd round. And I went out and had a great time and was almost able to finish in the top 10. And so that's why I'm going to kind of go back to that feeling of you're never out of it. It's 5 rounds. Anything can happen. And just to have fun. That's when I play the best.
Awesome. Thanks, Brody.
Thank you, guys.
Back again with Calvin Heimburg. Calvin, how are you feeling right now, just off the top?
Pretty good. Pretty much prepped for Worlds and just waiting for it to start.
It's been a long time coming, waiting for this Worlds. Obviously, I think between the last time the World Championships was actually run and starting tomorrow, you've had a big increase in your popularity, your profile, presence on the tour. I just wonder, have your expectations for yourself in terms of finishing high at an event like this gone up since Peoria?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm capable of finishing higher at this event now than I, realistically thought at Peoria. But in the end, I mean, it's every week. It's just go out and play the best you can. Hopefully give yourself a chance to win the final round. And that's the plan for this week.
Hey, Calvin, Danny Voss, PDGA. Those who know that they could go on Central Coast and see you play on lead card coverage at Worlds in 2015 in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. For those that don't know and want to go check it out after this press conference, what do you think the biggest difference they'll see between 2015 Vinny and the coverage that they'll see this week?
2015, I don't know how I got there. Lucky first round got me on lead card, which was cool. But yeah, I think at that point I was pretty much an unknown to anyone who hadn't really played in the Southeast, as there were now. Most people who are paying attention and watching know who I am. Hopefully I'm playing a little more consistent now than I did back then. I shot a hot first round, but I think it was kind of a downward trend after that. So hopefully this week we can start hot like we did then and continue hot.
Is there any disc in your bag or any specific shot that you think you're going to lean on most this coming week?
I don't think there's any shot in particular. really all I can hope for is to be hot in the putting green. There's going to be quite a bit of scrambling out at the fort, and yeah, it's pretty much impossible to stay clean out there. If you do, I mean, congrats, you're probably going to win the tournament. But yeah, I think a lot of it's going to be making your putts out at Mulligan because all those greens are pretty open. They're tight to get into and access, but they're pretty open. And then at the fort, just trying to keep it clean and not blow up.
Being from Florida, I also spoke with a fellow Floridian in Madison Walker yesterday, and she said, it was during the mixed double, she was just stating that she didn't like the dry heat. We're pushing 100 degrees and then some throughout this week. She actually preferred the humid nature of the weather that you guys would get in Florida. Are you thinking about any of those types of things? Is Madison overthinking it?
Yeah, it's definitely different. I would prefer the humid heat as well. Just because it's what I'm used to, just as I assume anyone from out west would prefer the dry heat over the humid heat. So I prefer it, but it's not the, hand I'm dealt here. So just got to deal with it, and in the end, heat is heat, so it's not bothersome.
And following along those ideas is the elevation, something else that you're not necessarily used to playing. Clearly, Florida, relatively flat, except for those solid performances that throw down the mountain. Relatively flat. How have you made your adjustments this week? Have you given yourself enough time for them?
Yeah, I think everyone's noticed a little bit difference in the way their discs are flying. Everything's flying a little more overstable. So it's just been a lot of getting out here and not grabbing the disc that you initially visualized to throw a shot and realizing that you're going to have to throw something different. And just kind of, I'm throwing most of the same disc. It's just on different shots than I would back down at sea level for the majority of tour.
A couple questions here from Ulti-World Disc Golf. First is, what do you see as your advantages on the courses that we're going to play this week?
I don't know. I feel like all the courses have a pretty different set of, things that you have to complete, and I think realistically it's just going to come down to putting. I don't think I have any more of an advantage over actually a lot of players. I think this Worlds is open to way more players to win than many of the Worlds I've played in the past. So I don't think I have any distinct advantage over any of the other players that are rated 10, 20 and above, because I think Worlds is pretty much open to anyone in that skill level.
To follow that up, you've been very consistent this year on tour, but you haven't kind of notched that win in the column yet. Is that par for the course this week? Is top 5 a good enough result, or is it a win or go home kind of mentality?
I think we're always out here to win. So anyone that's whatever, 1040 plus, they feel like they have a chance to win every week, and that's what the goal is. So that's obviously the goal coming in. It may or may not happen. So, but that's what I'm going for.
All right. Good luck this week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Sitting in with Chris Dickerson. Chris, welcome to Utah. How did you get here?
Flew here.
How was it?
It was fun. I guess the third total flight. It was fun.
So part of the 1050 club and flying now too, very quickly. I love it. Talk about the challenges of the course this week. What do you like about the courses for your game, and how do you think it's all going to play out?
What do I like about the courses? Well, we're playing disc golf, so that's good. One course is really open. The other one is very wooded, so it's a good mixture, I think. Like any course, there's going to be a few holes that I don't like at both courses, so everybody's got to play them.
What part of your game, maybe this is an obvious question, but what are you going to lean on the most given the challenges that you see to kind of get yourself into contention?
Line hitting at the fort. Somebody said it this way, and I think it's a very good description. You really just want to hit your first initial gap and then see what happens from there.
Hey, Chris. Danny Voss, PDGA. So kind of like Jamie just hit on, your reputation is as kind of like a wood specialist, but you also have a USDGC title, which is objectively not wooded.
Right, a really wooded course.
And I also personally got to see you throw 552 feet yesterday. When you factor those two skill sets in, where do you see applying the distance and like that open mentality from, like, say USDGC or something, and then that woods proficiency? Besides, I mean, get a little more granular than just say, obviously the woods at the fort and the wide open at Mulligan's. But I mean, is there something that you're looking at on the course and you're saying, oh, I've thrown this shot before and this is how I can execute it again?
Yes. So at the fort, there is at least a handful of times I'm leaning toward an M3. So that shot is one that I really enjoy throwing. It's one that whenever I play a wooded course, there's always a straight shot. So I get to lean on that a little bit out there.
Okay. Is there any other disc in your bag that you're really looking to utilize and leverage for your pursuit of this title?
Yes. So at the more open course at Mulligan's, the FX2 really fights the wind, overstable finish. Also the D1, same thing, just a little longer.
Hey Chris, Hayden with PDGA. A couple weeks ago, you played the Huck Open.
Yep.
That was filmed by Terry Miller here. 2 rounds in one day.
Yep.
What was that experience like? A little bit of throwback. Y'all don't get to do that too often. How do you think that prepares you a little bit for 5 rounds in 5 days?
If you can play 2 rounds in one day and not be winded, 1 round per day is just fine. I actually prefer tournaments where it's 2 rounds in one day. And like you said, it is more like throwback because, the tee times, it's a luxury. It can be, but I prefer the 2 rounds.
5 rounds in 5 days. How do you prepare for this marathon that's coming up?
I think that goes into practice basically like the year before. I try to get out and practice every single day, so it's not going to be anything different.
All right, a couple questions in from Ulti-World Disc Golf. First is, are you worried about being rusty given that you haven't been on tour for the past few weeks?
No.
Short and sweet. And how about this one? Does being the defending major champion, in quotes, give you an edge, even though it's a different course, different tournament?
Right. I was about to say the same thing. I don't think that really matters here. I listened to Calvin, one of his answers. I think anybody that shows up to this tournament, they're here to win. And that's the mentality I bring into this. If you're not here to win, then why are you really here? So there's no edge or advantage coming off of a victory or anything. You might have a little bit better of an attitude. You might be a little more upbeat, but everybody's here to win.
Well, let me follow that up with one more question then. Since it's a tournament, like you're saying, that a lot of people have an opportunity at and everybody needs to be here to win, if it's a dogfight going into this final round, do any of your more recent experiences on tour, including that major title, does that kind of give you a mental edge in any way, if the situation arises?
That could actually, yeah. Being there and having been through something like that, whenever it comes down to the closing holes and the pressure and everything like that, that could give me a little bit of an edge, just like everyone who has gone through that before. Because I will say, for the first time, that was one of the most stressful final however many holes at USDGC. So knowing what that feels like, not saying it won't feel that way again, but I'll know I've been there.
Hey, Chris. I apologize. I should have brought this up. Congratulations on winning the Edge competition, the skill shot competition yesterday.
Thank you.
Walk us through that. Like, what was your mindset going into there? I saw you personally out there. It looked like you were having a good time. Vinny was there, and you also played with Madison Walker, who also won the FPO side of that event and finished third overall anyways. So, just tell us a little bit about what that experience was like and all that.
Yeah. I'd like to think that, I helped push Madison to her victory.
Okay.
But no, we kind of, whenever you get on a card, two people are playing well, you feed off of each other. I like the skill shot every year, competing in it, just because it's more of a technical skills event. And, you're throwing forehand rollers, forehands, backhands, and then even some overhands in there. So it's touching on every ability, really. So it's just a all-around fun event.
And just following up on that real quickly, what felt better, beating Zach in the skill shot or beating Calvin in the putting?
I beat Calvin in the putting.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. You got it.
I didn't know that. I will say probably...
Congratulations again, then.
Thank you. Thank you. That's not saying much, but thanks. Yeah, I would say beating Zach in the skill shot, just because we've known each other since about as long as I've been playing disc golf, so I've always been competing with him. So probably that one.
Cool. Thank you.
All right, Chris, thanks so much.
Yep, thank you.
All right, she's a world champion. She's here with us right now. Sarah Hokom joining us for our Pro World press conference. Sarah, we know you've been dealing with the injury, trying to get back on the tour, get back into contention. Update us. How's it going?
It's going good. I connected with a really talented doctor here in Ogden, and he's worked on me several times and got all my muscles working properly, and the arm feels good. And now it's just about working on dialing in the courses with at the elevation has been the challenge, I think.
Yeah, that was going to be the next question. Kind of walk us through your preparation. Post rehab, and then also missing the West Coast swing, so you're going straight to elevation to kind of get ready for this. What's in the caddy book?
Yeah, it's been a little bit of an extra challenge with the fact that, I'm coming off of a little bit of an injury, so nothing's quite flying as I expected. And then at elevation, it's a double whammy. So I've been working hard at figuring out what's happening, how the discs are flying. I'm going to keep practicing even in the evenings of after my rounds to make sure that I've got everything dialed. Everything seems to be changing by the day. When I first got here at elevation, it felt like I couldn't throw anywhere, and then I've slowly found a little bit more power through rehab and just adjusting to the altitude. So I think the key for me is going to go out making sure I'm spending time in the evenings, continuing to dial in those lines.
Hi Sarah, Danny Voss, PDGA. So 2012. Walk us through that mindset that you had then, and what was going through your mind, and what lessons are you going to take from then and apply to this coming week?
Sure. Yeah, I remember preparing a lot for 2012 Worlds, and I remember having just a very process-oriented goal, process-oriented mindset, and that is what I'm going to continue to have throughout this week. My goal is to just do the best I can from each lie and not really worry about what happened in the past or the present, and also to make sure I'm enjoying myself.
Absolutely. I mean, 3 major titles, it makes it a little bit more comfortable, I would imagine, coming into another Worlds. What advice would you have for somebody that's, maybe coming into their first big tournament? We don't need to talk about Worlds, but maybe a AM going into an A tier or anything like that. What would you tell them?
I would give them the advice I use is don't really worry about your score. Don't worry about, mistakes. Just go out and throw every shot individually the best that you can, and, just stay within your own game.
Sarah Miller here with Disc Golf Network. I want to talk a little bit about the courses because they, as we mentioned, they contrast each other quite a bit and complement each other. One of your biggest competitors and rivals in the sport, being Paige Pierce, she constantly compliments you on how you play in the woods. Do you feed on any of that? What are you thinking when you're going to a course like the Fort?
I definitely prefer the woods, and I feel like I have the technicality and angle release, angle control, and to make sure that I can hit the middle of the fairway very consistently. Mulligan's is a little bit different story. Big open, a lot of holes are out of reach out there, so I'll be playing really conservative at the golf course.
And also, in talking to Brody Smith a few minutes ago, he was saying that it wasn't a problem finding the lines, you just had to be creative. Do you picture yourself as creative when you're out there, maybe when you find yourself off the fairway? Is that all? Are you digging deep into how you're going to find a way to the pin?
Yeah, sometimes you're definitely throwing shots that you've maybe never thrown before, ever. But, as long as you understand angle control and the disc in your bag, you can kind of get creative and enjoy that process a little bit.
All right, and we have a question here from Ulti-World Disc Golf. Does your injury change your expectations for your performance this week?
I'd like to say it doesn't, but it does. Yeah, I'm going to do the absolute best I can, of course, but having a 2-month hiatus of competition is certainly going to affect my ability to play my best. So,
talk about too, though, is there a silver lining there? This has been a very busy tour season, as you've seen, especially for the FPO division, having already played the U.S. Women's Major this year. It's just kind of been week in and week out. So are you finding some kind of silver lining advantage that you've had a little bit of like rest and recovery time, whereas, the women have been playing these longer and longer courses, especially in the last couple months?
No. However, maybe the silver lining is that I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself, because I understand where I'm coming from and where I'm at today. And that may not be the best golf I've ever played, but I think that will take expectations away, high expectations, so that I'll probably put down some good rounds just because of that.
And then final question, kind of along those lines, we've heard a pretty consistent narrative in the press conference today that people are saying that this is a Worlds where it's kind of anybody's to win. A lot of that has been coming from MPO competitors. I'm wondering, from your practice on these courses, do you find that true on the FPO side? Is it anybody's to win, or there's still some favorites and some dark horses and all that?
I think there's certainly some favorites. it's a little distance heavy, especially out at Mulligan's. So I think those distance throwers are definitely going to have an advantage out there. However, if they do get a little squirrely, they're going to go OB a lot, whereas I can't get to the OB in a lot of situations. So maybe that's the silver lining of being a shorter thrower. But you've got, obviously Paige Pierce. We expect her to throw down some good rounds. She's been unbeatable recently. So, but I'm really excited to see Kristin play too. So she hasn't been here recently. So. It'll be a battle, I think, no matter what. And there's dark horses. I expect a good performance from Ella. I don't know how she handles Woods yet, so I think we're going to see that this week. So I'm excited to watch and be a part of it, and maybe I'll be up there on those top cards.
Sounds like no matter what, you're going to have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Best of luck this week. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we're back again here with Kristin Tattar, who has made it to the World Championships. So, right off the top, tell us about your travel experience. Of course, the whole disc golf world, very excited that you're here.
Thank you. The travel began 3 weeks ago when we had to go to Croatia to stay out of Schengen area for 2 weeks, and then we were able to travel through Serbia, which is also not part of Schengen area, to New York, and then we got to Salt Lake City with my boyfriend Silver. And we finally made it. Yeah, it has been a long time.
What has been your experience so far here in Utah? As you've gotten some time to kind of practice these courses and dial in the game. And what's the elevation compared to your home courses that you've had to practice on?
I come from sea level, so this is very new to me. And also the heat. I think it was 110 when we arrived. So we were very exhausted and went to the training ground, and I actually weren't even able to finish the round because I felt so dizzy, and I think my body was just so tired from the trip, but I've adjusted now, I'd say. I still have some sleeping issues because of the time difference, I think, but it's getting better every day.
Hi, Kristin. Danny Voss, PDGA. Your presence here, just that you've made it here, is truly a testament to your resilience and your dedication. Firstly, thank you for going through all those extra efforts to make it here. That's very important for the sport and the PDGA and this competition specifically. So regardless of whatever results come out of this week, what does being here and simply competing mean to you personally and professionally?
Well, it's World Championships, so I was willing to do, I can't see anything, but almost anything to be here, because this is the biggest tournament of the year, and it's been such a long wait. In 2019, I just felt like I was in the zone and everything was going my way, and I was really happy. And then when COVID came, it was super frustrating. So I've been dreaming of coming over here and taking part of World Championships this whole time, and now I'm here. So I'm very happy.
Hello, Kristin, Terry with Disc Golf Network. 5 years ago, it didn't feel like the entire world was concerned about FPO competitors actually making a challenge for the world title. Simply the talent wasn't there that we were expecting them to show up and be contending. Here you are this week, and some people are picking you to win it. What kind of pressure does that put on yourself, if any?
I try not to put any pressure on myself because it's been like 1.5 years. I've been out of the scene and I'm really don't know what's going on, and I haven't been competing as much. I have been training a lot, but I mean, it's still the whole trip and everything. It's very overwhelming, and I just try not to think of the results or winning and scores or anything. I just want to focus on my shots and just give my best.
And something else you just said, the whole trip, meaning after the World Championships, you guys have announced that you're going to be here in the U.S. and you're going to play a number of tournaments. What went into that decision process of how long you would stay and which tournaments you would still be here to compete in?
Because we knew it would take a lot of effort to come here, so it wouldn't have made sense to just come over for one tournament. So we wanted to stay for more, and we looked up some Disc Golf Pro Tour events, and they fitted perfect into our schedule. So it worked out perfect.
Would you say you have any specific expectations? I know you said you don't want to put any pressure on yourself, but any expectations this week?
Just staying focused, because when you're tired, it's kind of hard to focus, but I'm just forcing myself to focus. So if I do that and hit my lines, I'll be happy.
Couple of questions from Ulti World Disc Golf. One is, what's the level of confidence in your game right now?
Well, I try to be confident. You have to be confident, and you have to be comfortable with your shots, and that's what I try to do. I mean, as I said, it's been a long time since I really competed at this level, so it's kind of hard to say. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out.
Well, kind of on a theme here, also from Multi-World, asking, do you see yourself as carrying the banner for the international, outside of the U.S. disc golf community as the lone non-United States FPO competitor?
I mean, yes. Everyone from all over the world, all the FBO players are writing me and sending voice messages and wishing me good luck, and I know they all want to be here, but I mean, it's a huge risk coming over here, I guess, and it's different for different countries as well. Like all the testing and all the rules are different. So I know the Finnish girls would like to be here, but they're not, and I'm super sad that they're not here. But I'm hoping for the next year it will be better.
And one final question, obviously we're going to focus on this week and this title, but going forward after we leave Utah, is Europe ready for a Worlds, and should we take it over there?
I'm sorry, what?
Should Europe host a Worlds in the near future after this week?
Should I?
Should Europe have a World Championship in Europe?
Oh, in Europe? Okay. Yes, definitely. I mean, we've been waiting for this a long time, and I think it cannot be in one place. I can't think of any other sport where it's only in one country. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to some of the TDs just stepping up and taking over from Europe or wherever. Yeah.
Hey, one last thing, not a question. Is there anything that you'd like to say to anybody back home that speak to them, how you would speak to them back home and just carry a message back there?
Yes, I want to thank all the Estonians. A lot of people invested in our trip, actually, and some of the Americans too supported our trip to Croatia. So thank you all for rooting and cheering on, and I really appreciate it. Aitäh.
Thank you, Kristin.
Thank you.
Well, we're now back here with somebody who knows a lot about winning world titles. She's Juliana Korver, 5-time world champion, going for the 6th this week. Just off the top, kind of reflect on how crazy, how awesome that is, kind of at this point in your career that you're going to be fighting for number 6.
I honestly never thought I was going to play another Open Worlds. I expected to play Masters Worlds this year, and now I am choosing not to do that because it conflicts with a DGPT event. And I am opting for trying to get into the Tour Championship instead of playing in either a 40 or potentially a 50 Worlds title. So everything about this year is new and unexpected, and I'm still trying to wrap my mind around all of it.
Well, in the middle of that, we do have some courses at elevation, some in the woods, some out in the open. I'm just wondering, compared to some of your world titles or maybe even some of your other best finishes in the sport outside of those years that you won, is there one that you can call back that really compares to this, or is this going to be a novel experience?
No, I think Flagstaff is somewhat similar to this. It was also a little bit at elevation. There were also wooded courses, and that was my last win. That was 2003, and that was a from behind wind. I don't remember specifics. I don't know if the other ones were. I don't think they were. I think most of the other events I led pretty much start to finish, but the last one I very distinctly remember coming from behind because my mother followed me during the semifinals, and she had the number of strokes difference between me and it was Des and in her pockets, and so she started off 3 behind. Oh, there she got one. And at one point in the round, she came over to me and she was so excited that she couldn't really speak in full sentences. And she kept explaining, right hand good, because she had gone all the way through the left hand and now she was counting on the right hand because I was playing well.
Wow, scorekeeping before you disc. How about that? Juliana, hi. Danny Voss, PDGA. I recently spoke with Stork on the phone, and he mentioned you as a sterling example of, these players that are returning to disc golf and making a big impact, and whether it's in their own personal life, or in your particular case on a very large visible scale. He mentioned some other names like Scott Zimmerman and Dan Mingoni. And in fact, just a quick fun fact, PDGA number 25, you may not know her, but Susan Oakley also returned to the PDGA and playing. With all that being said, can you define what disc golf means for you? I mean, if you can put it in a single word, that'd be great. But I mean, just tell us what this experience has meant for you personally.
Can anybody truly define how important disc golf is to us? I mean, I think everybody that is in this room has just been captured by this wonderful sport, and it is life-changing. It is the most influential thing that has happened to me in my adult life, and I have no idea where I would be without it, and I'm glad that this is the path that I found.
Hayden from the PDGA. I think it was a special moment for a lot of people in 2019 when you and Paige embraced after she won her title. Since then, y'all have obviously got to play together and compete. What have you learned from her? She's learned so much from you and cited you as an influence, but what have you learned from Paige?
Well, I've always known that she's just a spectacular athlete and has just found her purpose in life to throw a frisbee. She's amazing, but what I'm now learning is just what a gentle and generous soul she is, and what a great person she is outside of her great physical attributes. So and not only with Paige, but many of the girls that I'm playing with now, I'm so fortunate to be able to call them friends, and it's not something I expected coming back, and it's a gift that just keeps on giving.
Juliana, Terry Miller with Disc Golf Network. I was there in 2003 watching you win your world championships. Tomorrow you start, and it's a full 18 years later. what has changed the most for the game on the FPO side?
Volume. The number of women who could legitimately win this. As far as the players go, the fact that I will likely play with a different foursome. In fact, it would be astonishing to me if I played with the same foursome 2 rounds. And previously, in all of my world experiences, it was more unlikely that I wouldn't play with the same foursome the entire time, except for the first round when we were potentially shuffled.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I've heard you somewhat almost even dismiss the idea that you could take this down this weekend. You've implied that you don't think you can, but yet you're rated as one of the top highest rated women here.
Yeah, because I've got 7 rounds rated.
But that means you're trending in the right direction at all the right time. You're right there, and you are as competitive with the rest of the women in this field. Well, tell us, do you feel like you really have a chance? And if so, why not?
Well, sure, lightning can strike. Okay. You know, does my body contain the skill to win this event? Yes, I think it still does. I don't know how long this window is going to last. I think it does. But am I prepared to play at that level for a week? Boy, come on. At least the way that I used to prepare, I haven't even thought about it. I haven't even opened the door. So this is just, and maybe because of that, I have this strange calm about me that I have never experienced before Worlds. Usually before Worlds, I am freaked out and I can't sleep and I'm worried and I'm thinking and I'm calculating and I'm going through all the courses and this time there's just an equanimity that I've never felt before a Worlds. Maybe that'll change as soon as we start playing. Maybe it's just maturity. Maybe it's the fact that I don't feel like I have to win to be a winner anymore.
Well, and then my final question for you would be, very elite group in the 5-timers club, of course, you, Paige, and Elaine. Elaine's not here this week. She did just pick up her 300th win a couple days ago. Anything you want to say to Elaine? Because you and Paige right now are the front runners to get to that 6.
I will, well, first of all, congratulations, Elaine, on 300. That's amazing. You still are an amazing athlete and person, and it's been a long time since I've seen Elaine. I miss Elaine. I would like to be able to compete with her again, and I suspect that will happen now that I'm out here once again. In fact, I think we are signed up for some of the same events at the end of the year. It was very important for me to be at the Worlds in 2019 because had a strong feeling that Paige was going to take number 5, and I just wanted her to know that she's supported by history. And you know what I kind of hope? I play well enough to watch her take 6.
It's always wonderful talking to you, Juliana. Good luck this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back at the press conference for the 2021 Professional Disc Golf World Championships, Simon Lizotte with us now. Simon, everybody was really excited to see you return to the tour earlier this year, and obviously this is one of the reasons that you would come back to tour. So how are you doing in the whole kind of long-term rehab and recovery, both physically and mentally, in terms of preparation for this event?
Pretty good overall. I think I had a pretty good showing in Portland on a massive course, one of the longest we've ever played, and OTB Open wasn't a joke either, so it was pretty much the ultimate test for my elbow, and I think I got through that pretty smoothly, pretty happy. I was talking with Seth a lot, Disc Golf Strong, of course, doing warm-ups and cool-downs after the rounds, kind of talking about how I was feeling, and I maybe tweaked my elbow just slightly a handful of times, and I threw really hard shots very, very many times. So overall, definitely a success and positive. Of course, I'd never want to have any pain when I throw, but we're not just quite there yet, and my therapist even said, like, maybe just it's the way it is now. If you throw full power shots, it's just going to hurt a bit. Kind of just like a wear and tear overuse injury at this point. But yeah, of course, it's good to be back. It was a very long 7-8 months of doing weekly rehab and almost daily gym visits and multiple doctors and hospital visits, just making sure I know exactly what's wrong with me. But it's good to be back. And I've been actually battling a freaking wrist injury now for the last 3 weeks. Just before Portland in the gym, I kind of like something happened and it swole up a bit. It didn't bother me too much in Portland after that. I thought I was just young and good still. But then a week later, it started swelling up again, so I didn't play all of last week. Didn't get to practice as much as I wanted for Worlds. Been icing it and taking ibuprofen just to try and slow everything down a bit. And it's feeling okay now. I'm throwing very smooth and controlled shots, nothing too crazy. I think both these courses don't really need any too crazy shots. So kind of double injury, but also double excitement for me.
So to speak, I mean, that's kind of a tumultuous journey from then till now. How's your mental game? How you hanging in there? Are you confident at this point?
Yeah, overall really good. I think it's because low expectations make a lot of things much easier. If you kind of just go into an event thinking, man, I'm treating this like rehab and I'm just throwing to like feel out my body and make sure I don't overdo things, kind of more controlled. A lot less pressure, especially for Worlds now. All of Europe will be watching, and there's only a handful of Europeans here. So I just go into this with almost no expectations, and I think for me that's kind of important, that I don't put any more pressure on myself than I need. Just kind of go out there and do my best and forget the rest, like we always said.
Hi, Simon. Danny,
Hi.
PDGA. During the start of the pandemic, you definitely took a lot of time and I feel like grew your presence on social, especially with YouTube. You and Casey out there kind of making all those videos. I was personally very entertained, so thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And I think I speak for the rest of the disc golf world there. When you're out on the course, do you ever think back to a time when you were making a video like that, or kind of having one of those more kind of goofy fun rounds and think, I might have done this shot already, or anything like that? Do you ever lean on that experience competitively?
Oh gosh, if I ever lean on any videos I've done, I don't think so. I mean, I've been playing so many freaking years at this point. I've thrown every shot hundreds, thousands of times. So the ideal thing is when I'm on the courses, I don't want to think at all. So if I'm feeling good and if I'm playing well, then usually I line up a shot without thinking about anything. And kind of the more you think about while lining up a shot might hurt you more than it helps. So I try not to think about anything, and I don't think I ever think back at videos of shots. Maybe. I don't know.
No spinning wheels on the tee box here at Worlds, I guess. Okay, that's fine. We did ask Eagle about the discs and the new Discmania lineup. Do you have a signature disc picked out yet?
Yeah, we're going to keep riding with some of the familiar signature molds. Like Eagle's going to continue with the DD3 Cloudbreaker. We're going to continue the Sky God, the P2. There's some new ideas, of course, I can't spoil anything yet. It's always top secret. No one can say a word. But the Tilt also will come out soon as premium plastic, and who knows where that will go. So I'm just excited for the overall news, and finally we can talk about that at least. So it's been a crazy day for us.
Hey Simon, Terry here with Disc Golf Network. The fort, of course, incredibly wooded and some tight lines out there. earlier in the week I was talking with Steve Rico, and he said, I need to go watch other players take some of the lines because maybe I'm missing something. Have you found any hidden lines? Has there been anything out there that you've taken in where you feel like, yeah, I'm going to take this line, but another competitor may not even see it or think of it?
The fort does allow a couple different options on some tee shots, more than other wooded courses, but I made sure to watch last week's Utah Open to see what Ricky was throwing out there. Emerson, who got course who won. I played practice rounds with Avery Jenkins and with Eagle and other friends as well. So of course we always play together and kind of feed off of each other and see, oh, maybe that works, maybe that works. But I'm kind of limited to barely any forehand and very smooth backhands. So there's one hole, I think it's hole 15, where I choose a high hyzer over the top, where maybe most people won't try that. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Grab my FD and go straight down the middle.
Well, and that kind of maybe answers my next question is, what are your thoughts on the fort as a world's course? It's obviously the newest one. They had an extra year to work on it that they weren't necessarily even planning on having.
Mm-hmm.
But what are your thoughts of that course?
I think it's a really fun course, and if I was living in the area, I would probably play it a lot because it's a fun track. The one thing that hurts it for Worlds for me is the spectator problem. That is, I see a huge problem. I think they're going to have over 1,000 people out there, and I'm pretty excited to see how they're going to solve that because it's going to be tough for like almost all disc golfers out there have to like kind of like watch where the other cards are going on some of those holes. But yeah, besides that, it's a fun track. It's very challenging, very demanding, especially in the heat. It's going to be very interesting. Hole 16 is one of the funnest holes I've ever played. And hole 18 is crazy. I mean, that upshot's going to be interesting coming down the stretch for sure. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a pretty cool wooded course. Sad for the spectator thing, but maybe they find a solution that I don't even think of.
Got a question here from Ulti-World Disc Golf. It says, does time away with the injuries make you have more of an appreciation for being able to compete now that you're back?
Of course, it's like with everything. If you have tooth pain or something, you finally realize like how awesome is life without tooth pain. It's kind of like everything. Like how great does it feel throwing without pain? And of course, the more something is bothering you, the more you appreciate when it doesn't bother you. And that's just the way it is. Yeah, I very much would appreciate throwing pain-free.
All right, and I guess there's only one final question to that. If you had to have tooth pain every day in disc golf or no disc golf for the rest of your life, which one are you picking?
Tooth pain is rough, man. I don't know. I might go find a new job.
All right, well, you got one for this week. Good luck out there, Simon.
Cheers.
And welcome back. Now here with two-time world champion, Mr. Ricky Wysocki. Rick, let's start there. Last Worlds for you came in 2017. A lot has changed in the world. A lot has changed for you personally from then till now. Just kind of talk about your growth as a player and as a person as you step up to compete at this year's World Championships.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've grown a lot as a player since then. I've had a lot more experiences in the disc golf world. I've been able to battle out, play a lot more tournaments, get more experience. I think that that's super important when you're playing a long event with a lot of pressure and a lot of different situations getting thrown at you, like this week's gonna at the Worlds. So, getting sick, getting Lyme disease, bouncing back from that. So I think that I'm going to use a lot of that stuff just as a mental reminder like, hey, you've been at your lows. It's time to snap out of it and really grind out through this week and put all of my experience to work.
You also have some experience winning at Mulligan's out here. Pretty spectacular fashion, actually, a few years back, the Pro Tour event, Utah Open. Can you still take any lessons away from that? Has the course changed dramatically? What's your read on that?
Yeah, no, it's definitely I get to share that memory with myself. Just it's an awesome moment in disc golf for me to get a walk-off ace, and so just situationally, it's something where I can make a confidence booster out of that, just because I don't think I've ever done that before. Getting an ace on the last hole within 2 strokes. Anton at the time was within 2 strokes of me. So epic moment, a lot of great memories out there. So it's something where I feel like I have a lot of positives to take away from just stepping out on the course. And I've played that course so many different wind conditions. Even if it didn't get windy this week during practice, years in the past, I've played this tournament a lot, the Utah Open, and so I know how that course can play in almost every different wind situation.
Hey, Ricky, Danny Voss, PDGA. So let's go back to this Utah Open and let's go a little bit more recent to 2 weeks ago. Strong showing, but walk us through some lessons learned there on that particular event, and try to break it down. What's a positive that you're taking away, and what's something that you see in your game then that you're like, that's where I'm going to step up and improve.
Yeah, no, I think for me, Utah Open was strictly for one reason. That was for, just get practice for Worlds. I mean, I think I kind of lost track of that tournament because I was mentally trying to prepare for Worlds while still playing that tournament, when normally I would have just taken the weekend off. But I was like, I'm getting tournament prep and all that stuff. So I definitely wasn't in my killer instinct and really killer mindset trying to win the tournament. As much as I'm always trying to win, it was something to where I'm just out there putting myself in the moment, feeling how it feels to throw the shots a little bit under pressure with the pressure of the Utah Open. But the bigger goal was just to win Worlds, and so that tournament meant a lot, but at the same time, it was just practice.
Hey, Rick, Terry with Disc Golf Network. Clearly, you've won in plenty of conditions, literally all over the world. However, when I think back to 2016 and 2017, your World Championship titles, both of those incredibly hot, like very hot out, triple digits, just like we're going to see this week. You've obviously worked on your body, and you've really taken control of that in every possible way, health-wise. Do you feel like that's going to give you a competitive advantage out here?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that, when it's hot like that, you have to be mentally strong and physically strong as well. I'm going out running. I'm doing ice baths. The running helps with elevation. So just getting acclimated to the elevation with running when it's 102 degrees out in the middle of the day. And so I think it's only gonna be 90 something, which is still pretty hot. But so I'm always doing things to train my mind mentally to be ready for situations like this. And I think that's why I thrive when they come, is because I don't get scared away by 102 degree heat, and I actually look forward to it because I know it's something to where people get tired. They're complaining about the heat. I love it.
Well, and speaking of the preparation and mentally maybe tricking yourself a little bit, you're obviously known as such a deadly putter from Circle 2. You have the longest range, really, of any of the putters out there. Do you have to give it that much more? Really explain to somebody who hasn't experienced putting in elevation and what you're going to have to do to have that Circle Ricky range.
Yeah, I've practiced more in the past 3 weeks than I've ever practiced for a tournament. I think that you can always say, "Oh, I'm ready," but like I said, I've literally spent all day, every day for the past 3 weeks, either playing 2 rounds a day or putting for 2 hours in the backyard with wind, with no wind. So. It's something to where I feel like I'm ready. My body's ready. I took today off as a rest day to recover my legs, and because I've been running a lot, so I want to make sure my legs are my Raptor legs are recovered and ready for these long putts to get the leverage on those 60 footers and hopefully make some long putts at the right time to give myself a good chance to win.
All right, well, I'll skip over one of the fan questions about which shoes do you need for Raptor legs, and I'll go to the other fan question, which is how many pigs are in the bag this week?
I think there's 4 for sure, maybe 5 depending on the course. I think the fort, I'm throwing pigs off the tee on a lot, maybe 9 of the holes. There's shorter holes, but you really have to shape some shots, and I need a beat up pig. I need an overstable pig for the some of the shots that go around the corners or something like that. And then I'll use a beat up pig for a tunnel shot or a sidearm super late flip sidearm pig shot. So yeah, I've got 4 in the bag, and they're all doing different things, and I'm loving how I'm releasing the pig right now. It's going to be flying under the basket a lot this week. Look for that.
All right, last question. This one comes from Ulti-World Disc Golf. It says you were unquestionably the hottest player on tour earlier this season. After a couple recent near misses, do you still see yourself as the player to beat this week?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do. For me personally, just the way where my game's at this week, I feel like I'm the best player in the world, and that's something where I'm out here just to prove that. It's on paper, it's one thing, and it's you've got to go out and show it to the world and show why I'm the hottest player in the world. And that's what I'm here for, and that's what I've got myself ready for, and then that's end of story. It's here to win.
All right, well, hottest player in the world, meet the hottest week on tour. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
All right, back at the press conference here with Nico Castro. Nico, how are you feeling right now, man?
I feel great. I'm super stoked to be here in Ogden. Weather's been a little bit warm, but I've got a good amount of practice rounds in, just trying to feel good and, feel mentally prepared, and I feel that that's where I'm at right now. I've got a good amount of practice in. I have a good idea where my discs are going. I practiced, a couple hundred putts this morning. Just been playing a lot of disc golf, and I think that's what it takes to win.
You are a major champion, obviously, in the sport. You go up on stage every year at USDGC to commemorate that. It has been a little bit since you've hoisted a major trophy, but you've got a couple wins on tour. Is your career peaking at the right time now to kind of compete this week and hopefully bring this one home?
I truly feel that I am the best I've ever been. My game is the most well-rounded, and I'm as driven now or more driven at this particular day than I was 10 years ago. And I'm just going to keep working hard, and eventually I believe that I will be able to win another major, if not multiple. Hopefully it starts here, get another one. And I continue to just push myself mentally and physically, and I always believe eventually things are going to go into place and I'll be able to have another major victory.
Hey Nico, Danny Voss, PDGA.
Danny.
Thanks for being out here. You were sitting over there when I asked Rick that question about Utah Open, some lessons learned. I'd like to kind of get your perspective on since you were at that same tournament. What's a positive that you're taking away from that, and what's something that you're looking back on your play and saying, that's where I'm going to step up and improve?
Yeah, so looking back at the Utah Open, I think I learned all the spots that you don't want to be on the course. Okay. And, I landed in some really tough positions, and, I wasn't playing on top of my game, but I'm hoping that I did learn a lot from my mistakes at the Utah Open, and I could use that to my advantage. And that's, why I played the Utah Open, is if I were to make mistakes, I'm hoping I learned which side of the fairway that I need to be on and exactly where the OB is. And unfortunately, during the Utah Open, I found a lot of OB, and, I'll try to make it out better than that, because it was a tough tournament for me, but that's okay. I'm moving forward.
So in your mind, is there one particular hole that you want to attack this week and kind of show it who's boss or anything like that?
I do.
What do you
got? The very first hole of the event, and just stay on attack mode, because that's what it's going to take. I know that people are shooting hot scores this year, but I'm not worried one bit. I believe that I have the potential to shoot hot round every round, and it's gonna be a challenge, but I'm up for the challenge. I step up to challenges, and I'm trying to persevere.
Great, thank you. Hey Nico, Terry with the Disc Golf Network here. At the age of 32,
yes,
you have the what I believe is the 8th lowest PDGA number in the event.
Nice.
Including Dave Greenwell, who's played every single one of the World Championships.
I didn't realize that.
What have you pulled from previous World Championships, and what are you going to bring into those here?
Honest to God, I was hanging out with Dave Greenwell the other night. I invited him over to where I'm staying, and, you know, I've played in 444 PDGA tournaments. I feel like I've taken my licks. I've been very close to many major victories. I've taken second, third, fourth place to great champions of the sport, and I'd like to believe that it's my time to come out on top. I'm not scared of the challenge. I really don't care who's here. I'm here to play the best of my ability, and that's why I show up. I believe in my skills, and I'm going to stay focused on my strategy, regardless of what's happening on the course for other players. I'm hoping I don't have any bad rounds, because I'd like to shoot 3 very consistent rounds and then 2 awesome, amazing rounds, and I think that's what it would take to win for me right now. It's gonna take a lot of consistency. I don't think I'll be able to win if I had one extremely poor performance, because the level of play right now is at an all-time high.
Well, you just talked about what you think it's going to take for you to win. What have you not done when you've come up short?
What have I not done? I believe it always comes down to your work ethic and what you're doing off the course. And I feel like I'm playing a lot of disc golf this year. I'm not taking many days off, and I worked on my putting a lot this morning, and I think that I have the consistency in my game to pull it off. I believe sometimes I am the underdog, but I'm just moving forward, man. I believe that I have a strong vision on every single hole. I know what I want to do, and I know why I came here, and I believe that I was born to play disc golf. I believe that I was born to be a world champion. I've thought about it since the very beginning of my existence playing disc golf. The very first days I started playing, I've thought how amazing it would be to become the world champion, and I've played it out in my mind over and over again, holding up the trophy. Just that feeling, it's a very special feeling to come out on top on anything that you do, and especially in 2021. There's more competition in every single field, So I'm stoked to be here, man. I'm happy with where I'm at in my life, and I'm stoked to be here in Utah.
2006 was the first time I ever met you. It was at the Amateur World Championships, playing in Oklahoma at the time. You were a feisty young fella.
I was?
Yeah, believe it or not, I had to give you a warning. In
fact, wow.
I had to give you a PDGA warning. In fact, at that time.
I'm giving you a warning. Okay. Don't give me any more warnings.
Well, we've got to all play within our own rules. So,
you know what I mean?
But that in fact happened back in 2006. That wasn't where I was going with this.
I know, but I had to call you out anyway, because that's how it's going to be from here on out.
No, and I'm good with that. But I'm going to throw it right back at you. No one works harder than you, and if they do, I want names. You talked about work ethic.
I don't like talking about other names. I'm pretty focused on me right now, and that's what I need to be focused on.
All right.
It's amazing. I don't know how to follow that up. Let's talk putting for a second, and just because it comes to my mind that you talked about the field being more stacked. Well, a lot of these people, these kids that are coming up, they've watched you putt. They've watched what you've put on tape. You've changed your putt up. You obviously think about it with a fine degree of precision. So break us down. What's it like putting at elevation at these courses? What are the little fine-tuned things that you have to do to find success?
I think I just have to follow through and believe in myself. I mean, I've putted who knows how many putts. I'm going to say over 1 million putts in my life. So I've made putts from every angle, from every distance, and I've had some of the best putting displays in the world. And some days I've been off of my game. So I'm just going to build that image in my mind and try to make it sharp and crisp and clear. And just try to breathe through every putt, not get caught up on anything, and just see a crystal clear image in my mind. That's what I'm focused on right now on every shot, not just on the putting green, but you have to visualize.
Last question for you. You have already won on tour this year, the Waco Annual Charity Open. You're in a battle with Kale Leviska coming down the stretch.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of almost caught you there, and I remember you were talking about that.
It was a close call.
Yeah, he had a
Very
mental
close.
slip, and he closed some ground. Have you been able to turn that into a positive later on in the season? Because, if you get into a situation here, are you going to be able to close it out earlier?
I like to look back on all the tournaments that I've played, and there's been some very special moments in my disc golf career that I can look back on that give me confidence moving forward that, I've been behind and I've came back for the win, and I've been in a position to win the tournament and I've given it away. I feel like I've learned something from all 444 PDGA events that I've played in, and I'm hoping number 445 could be a first place finish.
All right, nothing else to say. Good luck this week, Nico.
Thank you guys for the time.
All right, back again with Kona Panis here, ahead of the 2021 Pro World Championships. It's been a long time coming. We finally get back to Worlds. How are you feeling? How are you prepared mentally, physically? We're just right ahead of the start of competition.
Geez, I'm feeling nervous, but I'm also feeling really excited. I didn't really expect myself to be on lead card for the first round of the World Championships, so obviously there's some nerves coming with that, but there's also opportunity, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. I have a great card. I'm playing with Juliana, Paige, and Kristin Tattar. So, you know, going up some fierce competition. And kind of like what Nico said, I'm kind of looking to just focus on myself. And this week I've put in a lot of putting. I've been struggling with the putt, but I feel like I found something in the last few days. And I want to say it feels kind of like Waco vibes in the sense of, you know, that practice putting beforehand and putting in that extra work. And yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling really excited.
Well, you're saying, you know, focus on yourself. That might be a little difficult with the 5 rounds, and the fact that if you're playing alongside those 3 other players, you're probably going to be in pretty good position. You know, what are the strategies you have for kind of blocking those thoughts out, given that there are 5 total rounds in this event?
Yeah, 5 total rounds, it's crazy to think about, and I actually put myself in this mindset already of playing pretty conservative the first round or 2, and then if I need to, getting aggressive. You know, mulligans is more of my style of play. It's those long drives, and obviously it's trying to keep them in bounds. So when I'm at mulligans, it's going to be, you know, trying to get in the fairway, in perfect position to set up and not going in the water. But at fort, it's all about hitting my lines, and I've been hitting my lines and hitting them like hard, like getting distance in the woods. And so it feels good because looking back, you know, Kona, you know, 2016, she couldn't throw in the woods, and she didn't know how to throw in the woods. She was throwing strikes like 13 speeds, like, oh boy. So I feel like I've got some more experience, and it's feeling really good.
Hi, Kona, Danny, PDGA. Yeah, so just like Nico, that was on right before you, Waco champion this year. Walk us through how that is, you know, maybe one of the biggest events in your career. How is that going to impact you when you're standing on the tee on hole 1, and how that's going to impact you when you're dropping in your final putt?
So at Waco, I had this kind of calm feeling of not being nervous and not really worried. Obviously, I had that huge stroke margin, and I didn't have much to worry about towards the end, but I felt like I was just playing and not thinking. And I feel like the last few events I've been thinking a lot. So Colton and I, we've been listening to some audiobooks, and one of them mentioned don't think. So this week we've been practicing not thinking. So all of our practice rounds, it's like instead of focusing on my mechanics and what really I need to do form-wise, it's don't think, just do it. And you know, we've played so many rounds, and we've played so many practice rounds on each course that, you know, I don't need to think. I know what to do. So yeah.
Is there any disc in your bag that you're really planning on leaning on a lot this week?
Yes, the Star Leopard 3, it's a super neutral, dead straight driver, and I can hit it hard, and it doesn't like turn over on me or fade really hard, it just goes dead straight, and I think at Fort it's going to be very useful.
Hey Kona, Terry here with Disc Golf Network. You just mentioned a strategy for the Fort. How do you feel like that course sets up for you, and are there similarities to where you had success, like a Waco?
Yeah, and someone actually mentioned that. They're like, oh, you know, Fort's very similar to Waco in a way. Obviously not as many, you know, wide open shots like the back few at Waco, but yeah, the woods. It feels a lot tighter in my opinion, but just like at Waco, if you get off the fairway, you're scrambling. During my practice rounds, not to sound cocky at all, but I haven't found myself in like really bad positions, so if I do get in some gnarly positions, you'll probably see me lay up to the fairway, if anything. I'm not going to get too crazy and go for some big shots. Like I said, you know, we got 5 rounds, so.
Well, and you just mentioned about some of the cast members that are going to be on the card with you in that opening round. Can you set aside nerves? Can you set aside maybe even almost a little fangirlism? I mean, I know you're a peer, but you're a student of the game, you're a fan of the game, you know the history, and you're playing with some legends, and there's couple women going for their 6th world title, trying to get in your way for your first.
I know it is definitely hard to fangirl, and I think one of my favorite parts about disc golf is seeing everybody throw all these different shots. And in these recent months, I've been able to play with Juliana, and it's been like a dream come true. And I feel like lately I've been able to somewhat compete with Paige. She's on a tear right now, but you know, it's going to be exciting, and I have my caddy, Michael, from Bushnell, and he's going to keep me calm and collected, and he's going to be doing all my range finding and stuff. So for me, it's just keeping a positive mindset and not getting down on myself.
Where do you talked a little bit about both courses, but, you know, where do you think you're going to look to press your advantage? You talked about playing conservative until you feel that moment. I'm just wondering, you know, what are the calculations going to be for when you press the gas?
It's definitely going to be at Mulligan's because there's room for error there. I can throw a lot harder, and if I end up, you know, left or right, it's not a big deal because those fairways are big. There's not a lot of danger other than the water, like I said, where if at Fort you try and get way too aggressive, you can get into trouble very fast. So Fort, it's all about staying in the fairways, not getting too crazy with my disc selection, and sticking to the game plan. Mulligan's is going to be where I attack.
And final question for you. We did have Juliana earlier, and as you know, you mentioned it's an honor to play with her. Well, she's pretty much blatantly said that people like you and some others in your generation are the reason that she's coming back out to tour because she's so excited. So just kind of talk about that mutual intergenerational respect and what that means for you personally and for the FPO game.
Well, I think when Juliana was playing, she didn't, not to say that she didn't have a lot of people to compete with, but didn't have as many. And I feel like nowadays the younger generation, we're coming up hard, and we put in the work. And I'd like to think that ladies like Katrina Allen, Paige Pierce, and myself, we work hard. We're constantly practicing. We're constantly working on our game. I mean, I figured out something in my game a few days ago about my putt, so I'm still constantly learning. And I think Juliana sees that, and she sees she can still constantly learn and constantly get better. And I think that is why she came back. She's like, now I can compete against some of the best women in the world, and that's so sick.
It's awesome. Well, great challenge ahead. Best of luck this week. We'll see you out there.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right, back at the press conference with the woman who has been dominating the national tour this year, Hailey King, now for the PDGA Pro World Championships. We were just chatting. You said you got in early, been practicing a lot. What are some of the reads on the course, and how's your confidence level going into competition tomorrow?
I'm pretty confident going into tomorrow. These courses are a lot of fun to play, so when I'm having fun, it's usually a good thing for me.
Which course is more fun for you so far, Fort, Mulligans, and why?
That's really hard for me to say because I still have not played a lot of ball golf courses, so it's like I still love throwing just wide open shots, shot after shot. So I don't know. I like them both. I'm really happy to be playing both of them.
And then, when you get started on the course tomorrow, is it just pedal to the metal, attack the whole way? Are you sort of, it's 5 rounds, so are you sort of waiting for your moment to strike, or are you going to set the tone first off?
I'm just going to do what I do, play confident, and, do what I want to do.
Hi, Hailey. Danny Voss with PDGA. Thanks for coming out here.
Yeah.
Like Jamie mentioned, you have 2 NT victories already this year. That's impressive, and I got to imagine that confidence, like you said, had a lot to do with that. So I'd like for you to walk us through what was your mindset stepping onto the first tee at Texas State and at DDO, and how that's going to translate to stepping onto the first tee starting tomorrow.
I just kept my head clear and just focused only on disc golf, nothing besides the present that was happening, and just, kept pushing and didn't think about the future.
Gotcha. So, and back to the courses, is there any one hole that you're particularly looking forward to shredding, or is there one that gives you a little trepidation?
The one, it's the Mandel hole. I think it's like hole 9 at the fort. The one with that, like, Mandel
the triple
wall.
Mando one, is that the one?
I don't think it's triple. Okay. Or it might be like hole 6 or something. Hole 10? Okay, yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's a long hole. Yeah, I love that hole. It's so cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. And then lastly, is there any particular disc in your bag that you think you're going to really lean on this week?
My 2021 Tour Series Heat is amazing up in these elevations, and they go so far.
I've just got one question, and it goes back to something that you've said a few times. You want to win Worlds by the time you're 21. Is now the time?
I mean, this year, next year. I would like for it to be this year, yeah.
Is there anything short of a World Championship victory? I'm sorry, I'm cheating. I got a second question. Is there anything short of a World Championship victory that would leave you not disappointed here? I mean, as in, is there things you can learn even if you somehow don't hoist the trophy at the end of the week?
Yeah, I still think just being out here gaining experience is just all I'm here for, really. I don't expect to win Worlds. I don't have that experience under that pressure yet, so I just want to take this as another learning experience, and if I could take the win, that would be amazing.
Got a question here from Ulti World Disc Golf. It says you've won Texas States, which is more in the woods, DDO more in the open, both in the same year. What does that mean for your chances on this 2-course combo?
That raised my confidence level on the open shots and being able to do all of them on command. So I don't know. I think it's gonna go well. I don't know.
You have a visitor here with you, your dad. What does that mean to have him here? And tell us about y'all's disc golf relationship.
It's absolutely amazing. I've been having a rough time, so him being here means a lot.
And just to kind of follow up on, you said expectations. It's you want to win Worlds by the time you're 21, and you also want to temper your expectations. I'm just wondering, what kind of strategies are you developing to sort of say, hey, that's the goal I want to get to, but I've got to take the steps to get there?
I think I just have to experience it and just let all the doors be open. I can't limit myself to certain things. I have to be able to try everything that I want to do in order to learn what is good for me and what is not.
And is that, last question here, and sort of not only winning on the course, but obviously this this day and age with your generation coming up in the sport, there's a lot of pressure externally with social media, with being a representative and an athlete. You know, is it kind of the same answer, learning to be a full 360-degree professional athlete in addition to being a killer on the course?
Wait, sorry, what was that?
Just kind of your strategies for dealing with all of the pressures outside of the course too, because that's something that maybe previous generations didn't have to deal with.
I think when it comes to tournament time, you just have to shut your mind off and just not think of anything outside of disc golf. So you just have to do that, and I think that's really all you can do.
All right. Well, the courses are tomorrow, so best of luck. Let's have some fun.
Thank you.
All right, back at the press conference for the World Championships here with Missy Gannon. Missy, it's been hot during the practice week. It's been hot leading up, and the competition's not even started yet. How have you been kind of pacing out your preparation and getting ready for the start of the event?
Yeah, well, actually, from what I know, we're going to have early tee times as the FPO field. So I've been trying to practice in the morning for that, but also to beat the heat, because it certainly takes a toll. I felt it during mixed doubles for sure during the second round. I think a lot of us were kind of like zombies during that last round. So it's gonna, it'll be nice that it will only be one round, but and that they'll be in the morning. So just staying hydrated and just making sure I listen to my body and and prepare as much as possible for the heat.
In addition to that, I mean, we're going to be playing at elevation. It's been a little while since we've had a Worlds at this elevation. Just wondering, what are sort of your tips and tricks, adjustments you're making to either your disc selection or your game plan to combat those unique challenges?
Yeah, it's funny because I learned to play disc golf in Colorado right about at this elevation, and now it's been a few years since I've played there, but it's kind of fun, trying to recalibrate and come back here. And I really haven't had to make too many adjustments. I do rely on some more understable discs that were already in my bag, so they're very familiar to me. I just have to, use them in different ways and also adjust my angles a little bit. But yeah, it's been cool to kind of, get back into that Colorado feel and remember how it was to play in this elevation.
Hi, Missy.
Hi.
Danny with PDGA. Since you brought up discs, I'd like to know, is there anything in particular that you're going to be leaning on this week?
Yeah, definitely. I still rely on my thrashers a lot for my big distance, so I just have a few that are a little more beat in that I'm reaching for, especially out at Mulligan's, to get that the full distance. But it's a disc that I know so well. Also, my meteors in the woods over at the fort, disking down and throwing those slower speeds to control. To be able to control in those fairways is definitely something that I need to focus on, and I feel really comfortable at both courses. And luckily, I already knew those discs so well in my bag. It's not like I had to go reach for something new in my backups and throw them in my bag. I just have to kind of figure out to stable down from what I normally would throw, but. Yeah, definitely my mid-ranges and my fairway drivers for sure, and then my thrashers for Mulligans.
Great. So you've played 12 events so far this year, and only one resulted in you not meeting the cash line.
Yeah,
and
recently.
That was recently, yes, at
Yes.
Portland. So talk to us about what lessons you're taking from Portland into this week. I mean, that's your most recent tournament. Not the finish you were looking for, obviously. But, there's a lot to be said about learning from those types of situations. What are you bringing from Portland to Worlds?
Yeah, there's always something to learn, whether it's, a positive or from negative. As long as you're taking those negatives and figuring out, okay, well, what happened and what do I need to work on? That's certainly what I'm doing. I've already processed Portland. Even you can go back to Santa Cruz. I've processed that. I'm over it, and I'm on to the next one. And this, honestly, Worlds, you have to have 100% of your focus. You can't be thinking about what happened before this, or even what the outcome potentially could be. You have to just reset, and it's a new week, it's a new event, and when it's Worlds, you cannot be focused on anything else but Worlds. So I'm completely in Worlds mode. I'm not thinking about anything else besides every shot that I'm going to throw and what I have to do to have the best possible outcome.
Hey, Missy, Terry with Disc Golf Network here. I'm actually going to piggyback on that. I had a similar question, but although you haven't had the performances we've expected from you this year, which is nothing but a compliment, knowing how good you are, every single week when we see you and talk to you, even if it wasn't your best performance, you've got a smile on your face, just like you do now. Where does that positivity come from? How do you constantly reset and then come back out with such a positive mental attitude?
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Madison Walker, who also somehow finds a way to laugh at things that sometimes when it's not a good thing, but maybe it's a little bit of a way of coping, but also we're doing what we're doing and what I'm able to do out on tour. The fact that I'm even out on tour at all, I have to remind myself that what I'm doing is so cool, and I'm so fortunate to be able to do this and make a living doing it, and I just have to keep that in mind whenever I start doubting myself or wondering, what if, or, just any of those negative thoughts. I have to just remember that this is so cool, and I can't think about the past. I have to just look forward to the future. And so, yeah, it's just in my nature to be happy and be smiling, and it's nobody else's fault but my own if I have a bad round. So I'm not going to carry that into when I go meet fans or whatever. I'm still gonna be the same old Missy.
Well, kind of following up on the conversation we've just been having, how do you measure your expectations for this week? Obviously, trajectory is very high, despite a recent bump or two.
Sure. I'm trying not to have too many expectations. I think that's part of the reason I've struggled the last few weeks. I put too much pressure on myself to perform to a certain level, where in reality I just have to trust that I know what I'm doing, and just take every shot by shot. I definitely don't want to put any pressure on myself this week, especially. I just have to remember my game plan and roll with the punches. But it's just confidence is the key, and I have to just remain confident and trust myself and know that I know what I'm doing, and I can certainly finish high. And I'm whether or not the odds are against me, I'm here to win. So I'm going to try to do whatever I can to succeed.
All right. Well, best of luck this week. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Well, we're here competing for world titles this week, and this man, Gregg Barsby, has one in 2018. Greg, how you feeling right now, man? It's exciting times.
I think there's a little nerves coming into every world championship. This is my 18th one, so I just try to keep my mind off of stuff today. I went out and hit the reservoir earlier. Got my practice in last week in 104-degree weather, so game plan set in motion. Now it's just a matter of time until I tee up.
Well, you've had a very interesting, if you fast forward and count tomorrow, your last 3 world starts, right? In 2018, you knew it was your time. I remember you saying that very specifically.
Mm-hmm.
You just went out and proved it. 2019, you had the nerves of defending.
Yeah.
2020 doesn't happen. So what's tomorrow like, man? These are very interesting first tee shots for you.
Yeah. I kind of like the fact that we're playing mulligans early. It's, being a golf course, it's kind of more point and shoot, right? Choose the right disc and just, straight to hyzer shots for me. I don't play too many, super strong hyzers out there. Just pretty much pick a spot, let the disc hyzer, or, on the other side of it, same deal with the forehand, and just get it in bounds. So I think that there's a little bit of strategy that can come in early, especially at mulligans. That's a place that you can lose a lot of strokes if you make poor decisions. So I'm just going to be playing it safe tomorrow. I would imagine a lot of my shots will be a little bit more, not tentative, but just making sure that it's safe, right? Ensuring pars. The last thing you want to do is put strokes on the scorecard that you didn't throw. So.
Hey, Greg. Danny with PDGA. You're one of these grinders. You've been out there for a long time, and you're kind of a bridge between that old guard and the new young guns, and you've been quoted as saying that you have to watch out for those wily guys. Mm-hmm. You kind of are one of those wily guys.
That's probably why I said it.
So what advantage do those grinders that have been putting it in and the wily guys, what advantage do you have coming into an event like this?
A lot of experience. I mean, I've played over 400 PDGA events, plus unsanctioned stuff and whatever. I would imagine I'm probably in the 700 range. So I've played a lot of tournaments. I've found ways to win them. I've found ways to lose them. And I think the most important thing is just setting yourself up and getting in position to have a chance to win the title. I mean, with so many good players these days, it's going to be hard to see anybody run away because the competition level is really high. So I think it's important that you set yourself up for success early in the event, make smart decisions, and I think it'll come down to the fort. Round 4 is going to be a really big one, and then obviously you got to close it out. So,
Jamie hit on it in 2018 that you felt like it was your year and you were fired up and ready to go. What was going through your mind specifically? What was your internal monologue like on hole 1 back then in Vermont? And what do you think is going to be going through your mind tomorrow morning or when tee time?
I don't specifically remember hole 1. I remember just getting it in bounds and getting a birdie, and then when I stepped up on hole 2, that's when it kind of hit me. All right, we're 1 under. And remember, I straightened up really tall. I'm you better throw these shots like it matters, like it's for the World Championships. I think that was my 16th Worlds. So, I kind of just took on that moniker, throw these shots like you mean it. You really only get 1 chance at each of these shots. I mean, every time, even though we're playing the courses 2 and 3 times, the conditions can change. There's a lot of things that can happen during a round that can try to shake you off of, whether it be your game plan or you might lose a disc. I mean, that's a real issue on a couple of these courses. If you lose a disc that you're really comfortable with throwing a lot, that can be the difference. So kind of just trying to take that mentality into it. Just play every shot like it really matters, and try to stay in the present and don't overthink stuff and play safe. Yeah.
Greg, Hayden with the PDGA.
What's up, Hayden?
Hey, winning this tournament is a life-changing moment, career-changing moment, life-defining.
Totally.
Describe that for us.
Yeah, totally. Well, in my position, right, there's not many guys that won it in their 30s. I know Avery, and I think McCabe won it in his 30s too. And both of those guys have put in a ton of time, kind of like I have. I've been on tour throughout my 20s and put a lot of time and effort into the sport. So, yeah, it's just kind of more of an affirmation, and then you can kind of transition out of maybe having to play every weekend, and I've had the opportunity to go out and meet the fans a little bit more and host my own series and do stuff like that. So, I mean, I think that was possible before that, but I think winning Worlds kind of made it more prevalent for me, and I think it made it more important to go out and, you know, see a lot of the locals, play some different courses, and play with players.
You know, been able to move and relocate and establish some roots. I mean, how has that changed your mindset a little bit?
Yeah, totally. I moved twice in 2 years. It's nice not having to drive 30 hours to go out to the Midwest. I can tell you that. Those drives get really, really boring. And I've done it a ton of times. So relocating to East Texas has been great. It's a good crew. We got good courses. And, you know, I'm 10 hours from 12 different states. So it gives me opportunity to kind of be in more places. You know, California, I love it. And I've played there, you know, since I was a little kid. And I'll play there again, but I think I'll maybe take a plane instead of drive there.
Greg, Terry with Disc Golf Network here.
Hey, Terry.
You talk about this being your 18th Worlds, which also marks the fact that you were part of the old guard, the old World Championships formats.
Yes.
It used to be 6, 7, 8 rounds plus a final 9, 2 rounds a day. You know, grinding through that marathon of golf.
The endurance.
And now endurance, all of those things. And now you guys are playing longer courses, but do you like the 4, 5 round formats and having less rounds?
I have mixed emotions about that. I think that endurance is part of the sport, and I hope that it doesn't get taken away. I grew up playing 4-round B tiers in 2 days. But I do enjoy, especially at the majors, having 1 round a day. I like that it's 5 rounds. I realize not everybody can take weeks off at a time, so I would love 7-day event, but it would take a concerted effort from all the staff and everything. So I really do like the format, 1 round a day. It also gives you adequate time to rest and relax and prepare for your next round and kind of, feel it out as far as, where your positioning is in events like this and what you have to do instead of just, bang, get lunch and go play another round. Those days, I've had really good days like that, and then, sometimes it's tough to get off the schneid. If you had a bad round, it can kind of carry over. You don't get a chance to sleep on it. So I like it.
Okay, and then similar to that, with regard to the format, we also now have trimmed down really to 2 courses. You think about being out at Smugs, of course, wide open or relatively open, and then wooded. We found that those 2 courses similar in Peoria in 2019.
Yeah.
And now we have 2 very different courses here. Does trimming down the amount of rounds maybe also then just kind of lend itself to having 2 solid courses?
I think that's a good point. I mean, when we used to play 4 or 5 courses, it took a lot, like prep work in itself. You're playing 1-2 rounds a day for 7-8 days, and then you've got a day or 2 of rest and then the tournament. So yeah, you're packing in 14-15 rounds on those trips. I got here really early, so I've got adequate runs on the tracks, but I do like only playing 2 because then you can really chisel it down. I've got a really good idea on 96% of these holes, exactly what disc I'm going to throw, exactly what line I'm going to take, and it just comes down to execution. I really do like just 2 courses. Yeah.
Last question for you, Greg, kind of following up on that, since you are dialed in on these courses, where's the spots where you can really get that wily advantage, press your advantage, and make some moves?
I think it's all execution. There's a nice little stretch there after hole 5 at the fort, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those are really big holes for me. 12 is, I'm playing that for par. A lot of them are birdieable, but that's kind of why I like the fort. Is it's gonna make you pay if you miss, and I think that's what we all want to see is the best player win when it comes to these events. It's tough to get through 5 rounds and even 3 rounds out at the fort without having a little bad kick here or there, and you're going to see somebody whoever's got that wily advantage, or someone who's a good scrambler and makes shots and kind of connects his scores. 40-footers for par. Or, big second shots out of a tight gap. That kind of stuff really adds up at the end of these events, So I think that's where I'm going to shine this week. think more than anything, that's probably where I'm going to have a big advantage on a lot of the young guys because I've got so much experience, and I know that it's a long event. And just keep the emotional level even keel. You know, everybody's going to have good shots. Everyone's going to have bad shots. It's really all how you react to those and how you can overcome them, and that's what I plan on doing.
Shine on. Thanks for your time.
Thanks. Appreciate you guys.
All right, and we're going to close it out today with Emerson Keith here at the Professional Disc Golf World Championship press conference. Emerson, talk about your preparation for this event. How long ago did you get here? Have you been kind of grinding out the practice, or were you, doing some rest? I know it's been really hot out there.
I've been here for quite some time. Right after Portland, I had to wait like a couple days there because someone decided to smash my window out. So we waited there for a little bit. Came here like on Wednesday right after the event, and I've been here ever since. So I have like 12 days here already? So yeah, I've been here a long time. I've been playing the courses every single day. I got the practice tournament on it, which I was able to win, and that was awesome and a lot of confidence. But these courses are just like home, so it's almost like I didn't have to practice. I just had to remember what it was like to play disc golf at home, and it's been really fun here.
And you have a bit of a history of kind of rounding into form right around this tournament here. And, as you mentioned, the great win last weekend, I should have remembered. Is there something special? Does the Worlds just mean that much more to you? Is it total coincidence? Do you like the courses? What's in the special sauce?
I guess it would kind of be like my hockey background, kind of like during the season you have like good games, but then when it comes time for like playoffs or championship games, you really like hone it in and focus, and I feel like I'm able to do that during these really, really big events like Worlds, and I'd like to figure out how to play like that all the time, but it's worked out for me so far. I've had some really good events right around Worlds and then even after Worlds, so yeah, just background of playing sports my whole life, just honing it in when it really matters.
Hi, Emerson. Danny with PDGA. I got a couple questions here. First one is going back to that Utah Open. We've had a few players here that played in that event, and I've been curious about what kind of lessons learned you're taking from that event, and so we've been picking the brains of Ricky and Nico and folks like that. What's a positive that you're taking away from that event, and what's something that you're looking at as an opportunity for improvement?
I would say as a positive, I was able to really see that you can really never count yourself out at the fort, because there was multiple times where Ricky had me by 2 strokes, and then I brought it back and even gained strokes. Like, there's just strokes thrown all over the place out there with the trees. And as far as opportunity, just I've had more opportunity to get in different spots on the course and figure out, okay, from here, can I save par, or do I need to play for bogey, or anything like that. So just course knowledge, I probably gained a little bit by playing that event.
Great, very good. So lessons learned again. Utah Open, you won, and congratulations again. And that's very recent. It's very relevant because of the courses that you played, of course. But do you think that event or 2019 Worlds is going to have a bigger impact on your perspective going into this week?
2019 was a long time ago. A lot of players have gotten better. The players were really good in 2019, but I feel like over the past 2 years we've added about 20 more players that could win any event. Yeah. So to win one 2 years later probably gives me a little bit more confidence than playing good 2 years ago.
The only thing I'd follow up on is 2019, obviously incredible performance at the Worlds, and for people that didn't know of your dominance maybe in Texas and in other parts, everybody came to know and love and root for you. It seemed like the resounding people's player that they were going after was you. How has that changed your life? And you didn't win, but how has it still changed your life, the notoriety and the performance that you had in 2019 to where you are today?
It was huge. I was just some kid at the time that wanted to play disc golf that got sponsored by Latitude and needed to prove himself. And I was able to prove myself to Latitude and to a lot of other people. And then I gained a bunch of fans. I would say that just because I have a kid and had the kid coming, and now I have a kid, there's a lot of people that can relate to my lifestyle and understand how hard it is to do what I'm doing with a family on the road. So I just think that I can relate, and people can relate to me, just your everyday people. And because those are the people that are out there just playing on Friday night after work or Sunday or whatever, whenever they can. I'm probably the one player out on tour that 85% of the population can relate to.
You brought it up, you were waiting on the birth of your daughter, and I remember talking to you back in 2019. You weren't sure if you were going to be able to even play the final round. Now you're celebrating Father's Day, which we're 24 hours removed from. So, handling that career transition and becoming a dad, all that stuff, how has that impacted the shape that your life has taken, whether it's decisions you've made about being a professional disc golfer or decisions on the course itself or anything in that realm?
I think it really helped me decide if disc golf was going to be something that I was going to do as my job for a long time, or at least as long as I can. Having Charlie really made me sit back and think, okay, do I need a 9 to 5, or can I really make this work? Am I good enough to make this work? And my true test was 2019 Worlds before she even got here. If I did bad, I was leaving that tournament. I was going to go home and make sure that I was there, but I did really good, and I proved to myself and my family that disc golf could be it for me. So playing good when it matters and making sure that I can take care of my family.
Well, lastly, rumor has it that you were really just waiting till this year so that she could make sure that she was alive when you win your world title. How true is that?
No, I would have liked to win in 2019. I would have liked to win the time I played before that. But it would be cool to stand up on that stage at the end of the week and hold her and that trophy at the same time.
Special moment. Well, best of luck, Emerson. Have fun this week.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, Heather Young is joining us at the Professional Disc Golf World Championship press conference. Heather, it's been a while since we've seen you. How's it been? Catch us up, and are you feeling confident for this week?
Yeah, it has been a while. I've been doing well. I went home for a while, and I played the women's global event near me and then the Tennessee State Championships. It's been nice to have a little break from touring, but I'm excited to be back out here. And this is my first Worlds ever, so that's pretty exciting.
What's been the experience like so far? What are some of the emotions you're feeling as you've been going through these practice rounds? And are you feeling a different sense of this event during these practice days than at other tour events?
I don't know that I'm necessarily approaching it differently, but it's certainly different practicing with some of the people I've played with. Like, people have a different approach to this tournament. It means more than any other tournament in the year. So it's been different seeing what other players think about it.
Hi, Heather. Danny Voss with PDGA. Thanks for coming on.
Sure.
So I had to check. I just looked, since you said this was your first Worlds ever. And when you say first Worlds, you mean first Worlds, no AM Worlds, no Junior Worlds, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
That is pretty unique, I would say. I mean, back in the 80s when it was the first one ever, there was lots of people doing that, but probably not many since then. When you step up onto hole 1 tomorrow and you're on the tee, what's going to be going through your head?
I haven't necessarily thought it through that much. I feel like there's certainly a different sense going into this. Like, I really want to play well at this tournament, but it's also going to be different because this is a 5-round tournament. So it's not necessarily about, oh, I need to play one really good round. I need to be consistent for 5 rounds in a row. So I think I'm not going into this planning to be super aggressive, especially at the fort. I think that's just a good way to get punished. I just want to stay in the middle and get the birdies where I can.
And it's not like you're a stranger to this scene. I mean, you've been on tour for a little while. I mean, you had a great showing at DDO. When you come out and you finish up a round on either course, then you have your 3-round tournament from there. Do you think that will impact, I mean, you mentioned how 5 rounds is kind of a grinder.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that you'll be able to kind of reset and say, okay, I'm at a new tournament now. I have 3 rounds left when you reach the halfway point this week?
I think it's truly going to depend where I am placed in the tournament at that point. Like, I think if I'm not quite where I want to be, I will be able to do that somewhat and be like, okay, I still have 3 more rounds. But if you're playing really well, it's different having a lot of rounds left just because other people have a chance to start playing really well too. So it just kind of depends how the week is going.
Okay, I got a couple more for you. Is there a particular disc you're really going to lean on this week?
Anything understable.
Okay.
Probably my F5's the most.
Gotcha. And then I guess my last question then is there one hole out there between either course that you're really looking forward to shredding, or is there one that you're looking at and you're like, I'm ready to just get through that one and never look at it again?
I feel like, I don't know. 16 at the fort, I feel like could be a big hole for the tournament. Like, that hole is pretty much either birdie or bogey, so I feel like playing that hole cleanly will be a big deal for placing well in the tournament. I don't know, as far as a hole that I really just want to be done with, maybe hole, I don't know. I feel like most of them are fair if you play them well. Hole 11 at the fort is pretty weird.
Okay.
I want to get through that one.
All right, fair enough. Well, I hope you do well on it anyways, and birdies abound.
Thank you.
I just wanted to follow up real quick on sort of the elevation and, kind of compare and contrast how you have to approach that versus, from back home.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is really my first time ever playing at elevation. I think you learn pretty quickly. Like, the first round I played here, none of my discs were doing anything close to what I expected. They're just flying a lot more overstable. I think the biggest thing I've learned with it is just my fairway drivers are much more consistent and similar to what I'm used to them flying like. So only use distance drivers where it's wide open and it matters less of being really accurate.
How about once you get to the putting green, are you moving your target at all? Are you making those adjustments? I know you're going to press the advantage there.
I feel like I'm noticing that my putts are dropping a little bit quicker, so I'm probably tending to be putting a little bit higher than I usually would. And then for jump putts or like outside the circle, I feel like they do glide a little bit further, so it's just being a little bit cautious to make sure if you do miss that you're not leaving yourself with a 30-foot comeback putt.
And last question, you may have already answered this, but just your expectations. Since it's your first World Championship, it's 5 rounds, it's a little bit different with the elevation, with all the things you're talking about. Where do you put your expectations for a finish this week?
I'm having pretty high expectations. I feel like Mulligan's is longer than what I would prefer, but I feel like there's enough water and danger out there that if I play consistent rounds, I can easily stay in the mix. So I'm going for top 5, and I mean, the goal is to win. That's always the goal coming into an event.
All right, well, best of luck this week. We'll see you out there.
Thank you.